This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
I ain't closing my closet door. I like closing my closet door. Let me get some coffee while I'm up, since I'm gonna get up anyway. This is not a riot, warlord. You don't have riots in England. It's just some hooligans. They might turn into some scallywags. Get on the stream and immediately leave. That's what I did. Good evening, welcome. It's the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Republicans are weird. EC Dub. Dougie, Warlord, Flash, Clinically. Good evening, my friends. Rush Limbaugh finally died. Let me tell you, I love you just because your name reminds me that Rush Limbaugh finally died. It brings me joy every time I see you comment. And unfortunately, I don't know that you can get... Have you seen this show? I don't know if you can get high enough for this shit. M-Lord, good evening. DJ Dub. I'm so glad to have everyone here. Rush Limbaugh turned you into a socialist. Congrats. He turned himself into a sober person about 3 years ago. Oh! Or I guess life, God, cosmic justice, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, he lived too long. What are you even rioting over in England? Is it football? Last time, I was wrong last time I guessed football. Is it stabbings? Is it the Taylor Swift stabbings? That's what you're rioting over? Also, update, one other child has died since we covered it last night. Three children getting stabbed over Taylor Swift is funny to you. Yes, the Taylor Swift stabbing. Holiday, good evening. Taylor wasn't involved. Oh, God.
Anarchy.
He scared the piss out of me. Taylor Swift wasn't involved in the stabbing. But I saw people like apparently get really pissed off at her because like she released this statement today, but like, you know, my condolences to the family. I can't imagine blah blah blah, because like she didn't have anything to do with it, but they were listening to Taylor Swift. It was a Taylor Swift event thing. It was some dance. It was like a dance studio or some sort of musical clinic or something, and there were kids dancing to Taylor Swift, and they got stabbed. 3 of them died. Oh, why am I laughing? This is not funny. If this has you more outraged than this, we need to talk about Jesus. It's not funny. I am not high enough for it to be funny. I guess since Warlord derailed the show, that's what we'll start with. What was I gonna start with? Oh yeah, I was gonna start with Israel escalating this regional conflict by striking Beirut. They say they took out one of their top military commanders, but no. Some hooligans knocking over a dustbin in Chef's Breed. That's more important. It was a Taylor Swift themed dance class. A Taylor Swift, like, we've got to like do the story. Not everybody knows the story yet before I can actually play the video. So we got to catch everybody up. So now the top story tonight is the Taylor Swift stabbing.
Story we first told you about yesterday. This is a terrible story. A third child has died from that stabbing attack at a dance class in northwest England. Police have arrested a 17-year-old suspect. It happened in the town of Southport in northwest England. The children were attending a Taylor Swift-themed event at a dance school when police say the attacker entered the school and started stabbing victims. Police are working to determine a motive but are not treating it as terror-related. CBS News.
We do a professional news show here, Warlord.
Senior foreign correspondent.
You should blame the king.
Joining me now with the very latest. So Liz, this was all unfolding while we were on the air yesterday. What more can you tell us about the attack?
Well, to help you imagine what a shock it was, Southport is a seaside resort town in northern England, a beach town. It's the kind of quiet, friendly place where parents assume their kids will be secure. But today, as you said, 3 children are dead, and the town is both grieving and trying to make sense of an attack on innocents that came out of the blue.
Mox, good evening.
The group of kids affected were on summer vacation. They had gathered at a local dance school for an activities morning. There was some yoga.
We need a Taylor business update.
Also included this Taylor Swift themed dance class. Just before noon, when the class was about to end and parents were coming to pick up their kids, a young guy certainly burst into the building, and witnesses say just went on a stabbing frenzy. The children who were killed are all girls, 6, 7, and 9 years old.
Damn!
Another 5 kids, along with 2 adults, remain today in critical condition with very serious wounds.
So more could actually die.
Taylor Swift posted on Instagram that she's in shock. The horror of yesterday's attack is washing over me. She wrote, "I'm at a loss for how to convey my sympathies to these families." The police haven't named the attacker. As you said, they've confirmed that they have a 17-year-old in custody. He's from...
It is indeed a mass stabbing. I was getting ready to say it depends on whether you count 3 or 4 deaths, but it's actually victims, and there were like 12 in this one. Purgatorus, good evening.
Nearby village, and he's been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. They say the attack is not linked to terrorism. It is, however, staggering.
It is linked to Taylor Swift.
Has left Southport reeling.
Liz, you know, it's just so horrific for something like this to happen anywhere in the world, but specifically in the UK, where these types of attacks are just not very, very common. Obviously, here in the United States, mass shootings are...
We don't think he targeted the class, do we?
This is a stabbing attack. It's sort of... You know, I just want a little sense of how people are feeling, because you often hear, well, you know, children are safer in Europe because...
I'll show you how people are feeling. Warlord is going to give us the context. Why are people upset? Why are people protesting like this? I mean, if the suspect has been arrested, what is there to protest? Yes, the second link. We're going to do it. I have it. Patience, Warlord. There's a show, there's a build, there's a flow. This is inarguably very funny. Concussion, no bollocks, and nicked tomorrow for riding. Silly old twat. Such a British fucking thing to say. Libertad, good evening. Oh! Oh! That was a double shot. Vetus, good evening. That was not kicking Authority in the balls. That was attempting to kick Authority in the balls.
He's kicking Authority in the balls.
And having it ricochet back at you. Okay, there's so much to this. Because he does, look at him. He's got his hands on his hip. He does a little dance. He's doing a little taunt. Damn. Chiba Hawk 420. I love your name. Just for that. It's time to light one up, tip one back. I love it. I love the little prancy dance he did. Rock to the head. Rock to the balls. That second one seemed like they meant to hit him in the balls. What is this protest? Warlord did not give us context. Normally, if somebody is throwing shit at the cops, I'm all about it. But is the suspect, is the 17-year-old, is he of a dark-skinned nature? And is that why these white dudes are upset? Okay, but we don't know because we don't have the actual details on the kid because he's a kid, correct? Rwandan heritage. So chances are, yes, darker skinned. So that's what they're upset about. They're like, and I'm assuming the young kids that got stabbed were milky white because it was a Taylor Swift thing. Now do I have the facts straight about this event? And these are racist assholes, and one got a rock to the balls. The double shot. So now, did that come from his own side, or was that perhaps a counter-protester that hit him in the nuts with a rock? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Britain, not the only place that protests are going on right now. There are protesters in Venezuela following the declaration that Nicolas Maduro won the presidential election.
Venezuela after contested election results there. Protesters in northern Venezuela pulled down a statue of former President Hugo Chavez, and security forces clashed with protesters in Caracas. tear gas and rubber bullets. Those protesters are calling for President Nicolas Maduro to cede the election to opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez. Both sides are claiming victory. The U.S. says it has serious concerns over the results. It's asked to see the election data. So let's bring in ABC's Lama Hassan for more here. So Lama, we've heard from the human rights group.
Okay, foreign policy, not my thing. I've said it before, like, I miss Hugo Chavez. He seemed like a really cool dude. I don't know about this Maduro guy. He seems like a sleazy motherfucker. It seems like there's authoritarian tactics going on, but also you don't know what to believe because of the Western press. So, on this one. Yeah, here's the thing. I would tend to believe that Maduro is indeed scum clinically, but all the people that are saying that Maduro did not win this election are really shitty people.
Foro, which says at least one person's been killed there already and 46 people have been arrested in these protests. So what's the latest?
Well, as you just said, Trevor, protests have broken out across Venezuela. We've seen thousands of people protesting on the streets, angry at the election result, which they say is disputed. They believe that they are fraudulent. Clashes have erupted in some cities across, with protesters ripping down posters of Maduro, burning tires. And
I don't know about most of the people in the State Department.
Was the presidential palace, and they were chanting,
Lama, good evening.
And they were also calling for the government to fall. Security forces were trying to push them back by firing tear gas and rubber bullets. And we know, as you rightly said, at least one person has died so far. We are also hearing that 46 people were arrested. We understand that the military is still out in force on the streets of Caracas. And as you can imagine, it is still quite tense there, Trevor.
So the U.S. wants to see the election data here, Lama. What do we know about that? And also, what does this whole overarching conflict mean for the U.S. relations in the region?
Yeah, so the election results showed that Nicolas Maduro was the winner, winning 51.21% of the votes. But the opposition leader, Edmundo Gonzalez, he claims that his campaign has proof that it won the election. Now, in terms of how the international...
They're saying they have concrete proof.
Reacting...
But so did Rudy Giuliani.
We know that the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is among some officials who are questioning whether the results reflect the will of voters in Venezuela, but not mentioning what this means for the U.S. sanctions policy towards Venezuela. A number of other Western and Latin American countries, as well as the UN, have called on the authorities to release voting records from the polling stations. Argentina taking a tougher stance, however, and is refusing to recognize Maduro's election victory. I think it all depends on what happens next. Trevor.
All right, Lama Hassan for us. Lama, thank you very much.
Lama. Good evening to that Lama. Good evening to the Lama in our chat. I'm feeling this. I'm glad to be back full time every night. How do I still have this much news to do? There's still so much news going on. Ponder Monkey.
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
Who am I to question Rudy Giuliani's integrity? Rudy Giuliani, what'd I call him? Rudy Giuliani's integrity. As if the man has integrity. Ooh, I'll take that as a compliment, Mox. I love me some Terry fucking Funk. Hey, you'll appreciate this. Torchy, good evening. We're back to 5 nights a week, Torchy. We're back to the way it used to be. Troll Patrol every night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. The other day I saw a headline that said Dory Funk, and I just assumed he had died. But oh, stupid me. No, he's coming out of retirement at 84 years old to have another match. Told my buddy, Battle Opossum. He's like, get it, Dory. We're not going to spend very much time on it, but content warning. We're going to have to talk about Israel and their bullshit tonight.
Israel has carried out an airstrike on the Lebanese capital, Beirut, in what it says was a targeted move against a commander of the militant group Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. The strike happened in a heavily built-up neighborhood. One woman was killed, and emergency services are still looking for survivors. Israel blames Hezbollah for an attack last weekend in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, during which 12 young children died. The group denies involvement. From Lebanon, here's our correspondent, Quentin Somerville.
Israel's response came just before sunset. A drone attack, 3 strikes on a building in Beirut's southern suburb of Dahya. The explosions could be heard across the city, an attack that Lebanon has been bracing itself against for days. The target, a Hezbollah...
Okay, I think the way she worded it was Israel's occupied Golan Heights. I believe that is disputed territory. Like because Venus, did you ask this question the other night? And like I was like, I think it belongs to Israel. But yeah, but apparently Israel is occupying it. Because on the map, it does look like it should belong to Syria. Because, you know, Israel likes to do those sorts of things. Krell, good evening.
Commander Israel blames for the attack on Majd al-Shams in the occupied Golan Heights.
Yeah, BBC is getting it right the way they're saying it.
Are still working to rescue the injured. At least 1 woman died and dozens have been left wounded. It's not known if the commander was killed.
This is the building that was struck by an Israeli drone, we believe. 3 rockets hit the building. As you can see, this is quite a heavily built up civilian area, but Israel says it had the Hezbollah commander, 8 holes responsible for the Majd al-Shams attack in its sights. There are mixed reports about whether he actually made it out alive, but we do know there's been at least 1 woman killed and a number of people injured.
NYC wise person.
This area of southern Beirut.
Thank you for being a freaking follower.
A Hamas official was targeted and killed by Israel back in January this year. The big question now, though, is what comes next, because Israel has said its response would be severe and it said it would take a number of days. So this strike tonight here in Beirut may not be the end of it.
A new footage has emerged tonight of Saturday's attack in the Golan. Children playing quietly, then an air raid siren. There was no time to take cover. It left 12 dead, all children and adults watching a nearby football match. Hezbollah, which has fired thousands of rockets and missiles into Israel in the last 10 months, denies it was behind the attack. The Iranian-backed group stands shoulder to shoulder with Hamas, but it's far better armed and its fighters more formidable. The conflict here was mainly contained to border areas and military targets, the unwritten rules of this almost war. But Saturday's attack on the Golan on civilians has pushed Lebanon and Israel to the brink. The United States and others have been working to contain things. How Hezbollah responds to tonight's assassination attempt and what Israel does next will determine whether war here is inevitable. Quentin Somerville, BBC News, Beirut.
Well, the White House says that an all-out war
White House
and Hezbollah is not inevitable, but as you heard there are widespread fears of an escalation. Our correspondent Paul Adams is in Jerusalem for us now. And Paul, what's your assessment of the situation tonight?
Well, look, Rita, this was clearly a very targeted attack. Israel didn't just lash out.
Good job, Boggs.
The weekend. It took 3 days to pick a target and then went after that target. It's also quite noticeable that they have not issued any changes in terms of the home front instructions to civilians. No indication that there is an anticipated significant Hezbollah response. That is interesting. Israeli officials are quoted as saying that the ball is now in Hezbollah's court. I think the Israelis are convinced that this has been successful. In fact, in the last few minutes. They've issued a statement saying that they do indeed believe that Fuad Shukr, their intended target, is dead. In fact, the statement gives a long account of his history.
Did he say Chucker?
Attacks against Israel stretching way back into the 1990s. So I think they feel that this was a very deliberate, very precise strike. Israeli officials have been saying, as Quinton mentioned, that Israel's response will be tough, but that it could go on for some days. So it may not be an end of the matter. And obviously, Israeli officials who've been meeting late tonight will be very keen to see what the response is. I should just point out one other development, which is that there have been explosions that have targeted pro-Iranian Shiite militias in Iraq tonight. Now, we don't know who was behind those attacks, possibly the United States, possibly Israel. But when I spoke to a senior Israeli military official over the weekend about Israel...
That's like the Spider-Man looking at each other, whether it's the United States or Israel.
Israel's likely response. He did point out, he was at...
Cup those balls.
That all
give a reach around finger.
Back to Iran.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then
Buff
I want
the
you
wood.
inside of me.
I've never heard that one. What does that euphemism mean? I can take a guess. It sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like a fun way to spend a Friday night. Buffing the wood. Oh, yeah. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Whew. I bet a lot of people out there have buffed the wood to Megan Thee Stallion. Oh, you like that transition? Megan Thee Stallion joining Vice President Kamala Harris tonight in Atlanta.
We begin on the campaign trail, and Vice President Kamala Harris is visiting the battleground state of Georgia for the 6th time this year. She heads to Atlanta today for a rally where she's teaming up with rapper Megan Thee Stallion before rounding out the week with a couple of events in Houston. Former President Donald Trump has a busy few days ahead as well. He'll attend the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago tomorrow before making campaign stops in Pennsylvania and the Hamptons. We're bringing you team coverage of the 2024 election. CBS News campaign reporter Olivia Rinaldi is following the Trump-Vance campaign. Let's go ahead and begin with CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe, who is in Atlanta covering the Harris campaign. So, Ed, Megan Thee Stallion, the latest musician to put her support behind Harris. How did these two get connected, and how important is Georgia for both parties?
I bet Harris is a fan.
They go back a few years. I know I was scrolling her Instagram, for example, this morning, and there's photos of Megan Thee Stallion at the vice president's residence a few years ago for a women's history event. So no surprise that she's offered up her services to the vice president and that she will be here tonight to provide just a little more star power to a crowd that's expected to be in the thousands. I don't know if you can see, and Daryl's going to show us here, we're on Hank Aaron Drive here, south of the Georgia State Capitol. The first person to get in line got here, she told me, around 9 a.m. That's more than 10 hours before this event is scheduled to begin. These ladies have been here, they're scooting their... See, you'd think we were at a Bulldogs or a Panthers game, but in fact, they're all here for the vice president. And I asked one of them, I said, would you have ever done this for President Biden? And she said, like him, but I don't think so. The kind of motivation, the kind of interest and excitement there is now in this campaign versus the Biden campaign. And it's why the Harris campaign is out there this morning saying they believe Georgia is back in play. It was clearly slipping away from Biden in the last several weeks as there were concerns raised about his age, as Trump was enjoying better organization, better enthusiasm about his campaign. But now, with this kind of an event here in Atlanta today, drawing Trump-sized crowds, drawing Obama-sized crowds, drawing Bernie Sanders-sized crowds that we used to see back in the day, and doing so in the middle of hot July, that, Lindsay, should give you a sense of
the end of hot July.
They're now beginning to anticipate in battlegrounds like Georgia.
So one of the leading VP candidates for Harris has taken himself out of the running. What can you tell us about Roy Cooper and who is leading the conversation?
We went over Roy Cooper last night. Let's get a clip from Harris at the event just moments ago. She was speaking right before I came on, mocking Trump for seemingly backing out of a debate.
In 98 days, and let's level set. Friends, let's level set. We have a fight in front of us. We have a fight in front of us, and we are the underdogs in this race. We are. But you see, this is a people-powered campaign. Ours is a people-powered campaign. In fact, after I announced my candidacy, we saw the best week of grassroots fundraising in presidential campaign history. And if you go to KamalaHarris.com, you can help us build on that success. So the momentum in this race is shifting. And there are signs that Donald Trump is feeling it. You may have noticed. So last week, you may have seen, he pulled out of the debate in September he had previously agreed to.
Yeah, he did.
So here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about that. So he won't debate, but he and his running mate sure seem to have a lot to say about me. And by the way, don't you find some of their stuff to just be plain weird?
Yes! They're so weird.
Well, Donald,
This was like an hour or so ago.
I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
Damn! The energy she has brought to the table is amazing. She mentioned her fundraising haul at the beginning of that clip. Part of that effort was apparently a group called White Dudes for Harris, where they raised over $4 million. The latest demographic effort backing Vice President Kamala Harris, White Dudes for Harris, raised over $4 million on a call on Monday evening. Additionally, over 190,000 participants joined the call Monday, and 150,000 people joined the group. The call was put together by a number of Democratic organizers not affiliated with Harris's campaign. Contenders on Harris's vice presidential shortlist, including Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker joined the call. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper took himself out of the running to be Harris's running mate on Monday. The vibes right now are incredible, Buttigieg told participants on the call, referring to the mood among Democrats. Cooper took the opportunity to hit President Donald Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, accusing the GOP ticket of not respecting women. Real men respect women, their decisions, and their careers, and it's pretty clear that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance don't, because they're weird little maggots. A number of famous figures, including actors Jeff Bridges, Mark Hamill, Bradley Whitford, Josh Gad, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Paul Scheer, along with singers Lance Bass and Josh Groban. Josh Groban likes his ladies to pop. Also joined the call. That's a bunch of white dudes. Whitford quipped at the variety of whiteness on the Zoom, describing it as a rainbow of beige. Let's talk about a white dude that is endorsing Kamala Harris. We got a couple of them here tonight that have come out. Also, I would like to clarify, we watched a clip of Bernie Sanders, and it was from Saturday afternoon, or it had been taped on Saturday afternoon, and he had not endorsed Harris yet, but at a campaign event on Saturday evening did endorse Harris. So Bernie Sanders, another white guy for Harris. Here is a Republican mayor who's a white guy for Harris.
Since Kamala Harris launched her presidential campaign, she's racked up endorsements from some usual suspects, former Democratic presidents, party leaders in Congress, and she's won the support of enough delegates to clinch the nomination. But yesterday, the Harris campaign announced the support of more than a dozen mayors in the critical battleground state of Arizona. One standout name on the list was Republican John Giles of Mesa. He wrote in the Arizona Republic, quote, "Too much is at stake to vote Republican at the top of the ticket." Mesa Mayor John Giles joins us now. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
So why are you supporting Vice President Harris instead of former President Donald Trump in this election?
Well, as you mentioned, I am a Republican, so it's an endorsement that came with a lot of thought. And also I'm elected in a nonpartisan election as the mayor, so I don't go out of my way looking to inject myself into partisan politics when I can avoid it. But every so often, there are compelling issues that I feel like
mitochondria.
Silence would be acquiescence, and this is one of those important elections. I felt similarly 4 years ago. I wanted to vote against Donald Trump as much or more than I wanted to vote for President Biden. And this time around, a similar position. It's important to me that we not go through the chaos of another Trump presidency. But I am genuinely excited about the prospects of Kamala Harris being our president.
As you mentioned, you voted for President Biden in 2020, but you hadn't endorsed him before he exited the race. Why does Vice President Harris get your public support now when President Biden hadn't?
I think ultimately I probably would have given my support to President Biden, but I am very excited with the Vice President's entry into the campaign. It's been fun to see the energy that she's brought. I think Arizona is very much in play, where I'm not sure that it was before. And that's even before we discussed the possibility of Senator Kelly joining the ticket. So there's genuinely a lot of excitement, around the Harris campaign. Now, she's a Democrat.
I feel like because I want it to be Waltz or Bashir, it's going to be Kelly or Shapiro. Of Kelly and Shapiro, I'll take Kelly, hands down.
And so there are absolutely some policy issues that she and I differ on. But in spite of that, what I do know about her is that the top item on her agenda is doing what's best for the United States. And I honestly cannot say that about Mr. Trump.
Immigration is a big issue in this election. What's your assessment of her record on immigration, and what's the situation on the ground in Arizona right now?
I wouldn't say that's an issue. That's the issue in Arizona. So that's an issue that the vice president's going to have to come to Arizona and convince the people here that.
What do you mean don't have any say? I got a microphone.
That she is going to work treating it as a problem to be solved, as opposed to President Trump's approach, which is.
I get 30 views on YouTube. I'm kind of a big deal.
To treat it as an issue to be exploited. Republicans are attempting to blame her for the surges and the chaos at the border. I think there's blame to be passed.
What the fuck are you guys doing in the chat?
Multiple presidential administrations. But in particular, I'm disappointed with President Trump's decision to kill the bipartisan immigration act that Senator Sinema and others worked on so hard. That would have been a tremendous help at the border. So again, Vice President Harris is going to have to address this issue head on, especially in border states like Arizona. But I think when all the facts are on the table.
Oh, go to town. Go to town.
The majority of the blame for the problem there.
I would just like to say, if you are listening to this show later, and you're only getting the audio, I am sad that you miss out on just the insanity that goes on in the chat on most nights. But like it's particularly lively tonight in the chat. And a lot of times I'm referencing the chat. Tonight I'm not. I'm being really good being on topic. But it's popping off tonight. And if you are watching the show later on YouTube or on Spotify or something, it's not ad time, is it? I don't think so. I try to do ads at like 10 till 5 till somewhere around there. If you're watching the show later, like this is why you need to be here live. I understand it's good content to listen to like the night of. Help get you through a shift at work or something. NYC, man, listen. Nobody in my chat supports terrorists. We condemn Hamas. We stand up for the Palestinian people. We cover the atrocities committed by terrorist groups that are Israeli and Palestinian. I see that still sounds like we condemn the IDF as well. I was trying to Justin does not condemn hummus. Justin fucking loves hummus. I am totally against any violence against civilians. Now that we've cleared that up, can we move on? We're talking about U.S. politics.
It's going to go to President Trump's attempts to derail a lot of work that has gone into trying to solve that.
Call me a fucking fence sitter. I almost use this for the meme of the day. It's a real nice fence you're riding, you centrist piss baby. No, I am absolutely... Israel is committing a genocide. The IDF needs to be, like, disbanded. And, like, its leadership tried at The Hague. I did just say Israel is committing a genocide because Israel is committing a genocide. I'm trying to move on right now. Do you know why I say that Israel is committing a genocide? Because Israel is committing a genocide. I don't give a shit what Biden's Secretary of Defense says. Israel committing textbook case of genocide, Holocaust historian says. An Israeli Jewish Holocaust scholar says it is a textbook case of genocide. So I need weed. I need to get back to the news. So boom, there you go. Let me queue up the next story, and I will pack another bong. Hope that cleared things up for you, NYC. Fucking fuck, this is the wrong video. You derailed the show. Are you proud of yourself? The deadline is looming for Vice President Harris to pick her vice presidential nominee.
Days sprint to November 5th. Prominent Democratic governors and potential VP picks, Pennsylvania's Josh Shapiro and Michigan's Gretchen Whitmer, on the trail for Kamala Harris.
Let's wake up in November and say the words, Madam President.
Their messages provide a window into the running mate search, with about 10 days left for the vice president to make her decision.
Kamala Harris's name is going to be on that ballot. And I, for one, am going to be pushing that button for Kamala Harris. I know you will, too.
Her team calling for a week of action on the Supreme Court and abortion rights, as Iowa's restriction on abortion after about 6 weeks goes into effect today. Harris on social media tied the law to former President Trump,
which makes Iowa the 22nd state in our country to have a Trump abortion ban.
In minutes.
Oh, you shouldn't have timed him out for that long. Maybe a minute. That's like 10 minutes or something. He wasn't being abusive.
Saturday, former President Trump called out Harris on immigration.
I will
being stupid.
Open border policy.
Flagrantly stupid.
Harris administration. And we will seal the border.
Both Harris and President Biden say dramatic change is needed at the Supreme Court.
We need these reforms to restore trust in the courts.
The president calling for a constitutional amendment to hold presidents accountable for crimes committed in office after Mr. Trump's win on immunity. Term limits to cap justices at 18 years on the court. A binding code of ethics.
Supreme Court's current ethics code is weak and even.
I try to balance it, Mox, because like I've asked multiple times in the chat, and it seems like, you know, a third of the crowd is here for me to yell at people. A third of the crowd is here for me to do the news. And a third of the crowd likes just nonsense. So, I don't know.
More frightening, voluntary.
Getting necessary congressional approval would be...
Try to balance everything out.
President Biden and his leftist allies don't like the current composition of the court. So they want to shred the Constitution.
We live in the context of what has been.
And meanwhile, Kelly, there are some new developments into the investigation into the assassination attempt against former President Trump.
We're going to talk about that here in a second.
A new bipartisan task force.
Oh, I can't wait until we see Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz grill the Secret Service director, acting director,
to investigate the assassination attempt.
I love Dijon
Says
Mustard.
it has still not determined motive, but has evidence of complex planning by the gunman. The Bureau's done more than 450 interviews and says former President Trump agreed to participate in what they call a victim interview. Lester?
Thanks for watching.
Oh my God!
Breaking news.
Shut up, Lester.
Stories on the
See, everybody gets something different out of the show. So I wanna make sure that everybody gets what they want. It's a good potpourri of the different flavors we bring to the table here. Can we go ahead and get commercials out of the way? Yeah. Hold on. I'll smoke with you. I'll smoke with you. Listen. So when we come back, we're gonna do Fred Trump III. Is the other white guy who is endorsing Kamala Harris tonight. The CIA is denying that the Trump assassination was an MK Ultra plot that they conducted. We're gonna watch clips from the grilling that the Secret Service took from the Senate earlier today. We're going to talk about a Christian nationalist group that is purging voters across the country. The sheriff won't apologize for the death of Sonia Massey. A New Jersey policeman also killed a woman who called for help. We have body cam of a cop shooting a man and a child. A police organization is defending a video of a cop punching a man who had already been detained. An off-duty cop was shot in Chicago. We got video of a Utah hit and run. An LA police pursuit ended in a crash. There's a manhunt for a gunman in New York. I've got an update on the Young Thug trial and the woman who was a DJ at the Olympics. It was part of what they're calling the Last Supper, or was the Bachalala, or the Feast of Dionysus, or whatever the fuck it was, what it actually was, which, as many people pointed out, just shows how much Christianity lifted from other religions. She is suing for the online harassment she's received, the Feast of Dionysus. So all that and a lot freaking more on the other side of the break here on the Troll Patrol Live. You get your 3 minutes out of the way. But botchanal. Is that how you say it? Botchanal? You get your 3 minutes out of the way. You won't have to worry about commercials. You won't miss any content. We're going to smoke a bowl. We'll be back on the other side of the break. Why are you leaving after the break? What? Don't leave after the break. There's good shit after the break. Oh, you're going to Deadpool tonight? You can get in tonight. Bach anal. Bach anal. I still haven't seen the second Deadpool. I enjoyed the first one. I don't know why I haven't seen the second one. And I've not seen... I think I saw one X-Men movie, and there's been a couple of them, haven't there? T-Dog. Who's T-Dog? Is that your new friend? T-Dog? Oh, that's your boyfriend. I've never heard you call him T-Dog. I was like, who does she know with a T-Dog? Oh, yeah. That's right. T-Dog. It's been a wild day, let me tell you. I had a cat all up in my fucking shit this morning. Maynard was a little holy terror. I actually got up and locked him in the bedroom. I shut the door on him. And he sat at the door and meowed and scratched, but I had to get some sleep somehow. I love the little fuck. And I took a nap with him a little bit ago. He was the one that cuddled with me. And here's the thing is like, when I put my arms around him, he fucking did the rabbit kick and he was clawing me. But then I started petting his belly and he fell asleep with me and he wrapped his arms around me and shit. He decided he liked being petted. Such a little shit though. He's a hellion. I didn't understand what he was upset about this morning. Cause I turned the water, he likes to get his head wet. He likes to drink water straight from the bathtub. But I don't know why he was upset with me. I'd love to go to Greece. Welcome back to everyone who was on commercial break. I think fucking Twitch has been acting weird. Lindsay Lohan is in Greece? What? Why? What? Who cares about Lindsay Lohan? Why have I been seeing pictures of her? I might have even seen pictures of her in Greece. No, she was in Disney. She was at Disney World in the pictures I saw. A whole country with a backstory of butt stuff. If you're gonna do butt stuff, I've got some advice for you.
Life is too short to walk this earth for a crusty asshole. Wash your ass.
Why, Purgatoris, it could have been like Disneyland Paris. I have no idea what she tried to make a comeback, didn't she? I don't know. Like her and Jamie Lee Curtis are filming like Freaky Friday 2 right now or some shit. How do I know this? How has Lindsay Lohan been on my radar? Jesus. Anyway, let's hear from Fred Trump III.
From the nephew of former President Trump, Fred Trump III, speaking out against his uncle in a new book. It's called All in the Family, The Trumps and How We Got This Way. And
Clinically, Tiger Beat ain't covering. First of all, I don't think Tiger Beat's still a thing. But Tiger Beat wouldn't be covering Lindsay Lohan. She's like fucking a grandmother now. What are you talking about? Like, she's our age. She might even be a little bit older than me.
Alleges the former president used a racial slur and suggested disabled people should, quote, just die. The Trump campaign calls these claims disgusting lies, but his nephew says this is no...
Yes, you would.
It's the full truth. Here's senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky.
It says the Trumps and how we got this way. What way? What's the Trump way?
Complex and sometimes cruel. And within every family, people know this, families are complicated. Every family has their crazy uncle. My Uncle Donald is atomic crazy. And he has put his mark on the family history.
Well, I'm 2 years older than her. My apologies. She is 38.
Atomic crazy?
Yes.
What's that mean?
Means he does things that, even as much as I know him, when he's out there now, I sort of shudder and say, is this the same guy I knew? What's making him change? What got him this way? But that all being said, I've always had a good relationship, but he's done really horrific things to me, which some people will say, how could you still want to have a relationship with him? He's my uncle. He's family, and that means a lot.
After his uncle was elected president, Fred Trump says he saw an opportunity to advocate for the disabled.
I was in the Oval Office 12 times and that was our mission, to advocate for people with complex disabilities.
Oh.
It culminated in May of 2020 in the Oval Office. Donald was there, and he was very gracious. Several other folks were there, including the group that we brought down. We dispersed. I was asked to go back and see Donald. He greeted me with his familiar, "Hey, pal, how's it going?" We sat down for a bit. And
on the one hand, I want to be like, oh, that's cool of him to advocate for the disabled. But then again, he's also a Trump. Is it a grift?
He just came out with these people, all the expenses. They should just die. He's talking about human beings who have complex issues. And the first thing he could say was, they should just die.
Fred claims this wasn't isolated, describing a phone call to alert his uncle the medical fund set up by the family for his son William was running low.
He seems genuine.
The former president consistently replenished.
A couple of years ago, I called him. I said, Donald, the fund's running out. And without hesitation, he said, your son doesn't recognize you. Let him die and move to Florida.
Wow.
Were you surprised? That's a great question. My response was, no, Donald, he does recognize me, and said, I'll thanks, and hung up. Was I surprised? I don't think you could hear something like that and not be surprised. But that is what he has become. It's sad.
There's a chapter that you write about called the race card. What's that about?
I was about
What's his middle name, Flash?
And I was at my grandparents' house, like I was a lot. And Donald, I could hear him screaming. And I went down to the driveway of my grandparents' house, and there was his white Eldorado convertible with 2 slashes. Still remember it. And he had electrical tape because the roof was black. And he used the N-word twice, just saying who he thought probably had done this.
You were 10 years old when these comments were allegedly uttered.
Right.
You sure you remember him that way?
Oh, absolutely.
He says he doesn't use the word.
Okay, he did twice that day.
You do write in the book about...
Oh, I'm sure he's used the word.
Labeled former President Trump a racist? And some people feel he is, some people say he's not. And you ask the question, is he a racist? You don't necessarily answer it.
Oh, yeah, this is a book plug.
He at times espouses things that people who are...
Fred Christ Trump? No fucking...
That's the best I can answer that.
His name is Fred Christ Trump? What? So was that Donald's father's name was Fred Christ? How have I not heard that?
Question.
Say more.
I don't believe he's a racist. I think that he uses people, whether they're black or they're whoever can help him, he will use them. And, you know, call it racist or not, I don't believe in that. He uses them as props. And when he gets what he needs out of them, votes, he'll cast them aside.
So that is Fred Trump III speaking with our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, who joins me now for more. Aaron, thank you so much for your time. We heard at the beginning the Trump campaign is...
We covered this a couple of weeks ago, but it's different when you actually hear the dude talking about it. I always love stories like this when the CIA has to come out and deny. I don't think he believes that his uncle was racist, is what he said. That's the way I took it. The CIA denies conspiracy theory that it used MK Ultra on the Trump shooter. Thomas Matthew Crooks wasn't part of some Manchurian candidate-like plot, according to the spy agency. Was the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump earlier this month part of a secret CIA program involving brainwashed killers? That's the claim being made by some far-right accounts on X, but the U.S. intelligence agency is taking the unusual step of directly and forcefully denying the claims. And that's exactly what somebody who was using MK Ultra to facilitate the assassination attempt on Donald Trump would say. When it was revealed in the 1970s that the CIA had tried to develop a mind manipulation program called MK Ultra, it sounded like the most absurd conspiracy theory around. Unfortunately, it turned out to be true, even if the suggestive results of the program and potential for creating Manchurian candidate-like killers have been exaggerated in the subsequent decades. But MK Ultra has become quite a meme in the 2020s, with many conspiracy theorists jumping into the fray after Trump was shot by a 20-year-old during a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The shooter was identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, who acted alone, but some people on social media are trying to claim Crooks was somehow trained by the CIA under an MK Ultra program to go after Trump. What if U.S. President Joe Biden's mean tweets triggered Thomas Matthew Crooks on one X account that goes by the name Real Global News, tweeted a couple days after the shooting? Yes, like an MK Ultra test subject. I don't want to go into conspiracy theories here, but the CIA did mind control experience like the Manchurian candidate. Wait for the trigger before acting. Another account with the handle @MJTruthUltra tweeted MK Ultra anyone, with a list of supposedly suspicious claims about Crooks and the way local police handled the investigation into the assassination attempt against Trump. The CIA, for its part, decided to push back very publicly against these claims, something the agency doesn't often do when weird conspiracies are floating around on the internet. These claims are utterly false, absurd, and damaging, a CIA spokesperson told Gizmodo. The CIA had no relationship whatsoever with Thomas Crooks. Regarding MK Ultra, the CIA's program was shut down more than 40 years ago. Declassified information about the program is publicly available on CIA.gov. Did it go that long? Did it go into the 80s? I thought it ended in the 60s. No fucking way. I would assume that was one of the biggest parts of it, wasn't it? LSD tests. That's what I was thinking, Flash. Well, it was different, Torchy, because they were giving people high doses of LSD without telling them. I hit the content warning because everyone has told me that anytime we see Ted Cruz's face, it needs a content warning. So just so you know, here is Ted Cruz getting in a heated exchange with the acting director of the FBI. I've got FBI on the brain now. The acting director of the Secret Service.
Mr. Rowe, thank you for being here. I agree with what you said at the outset that the individual Secret Service agents demonstrated remarkable personal courage, putting their
not high enough for this shit
between the line of sight of the shooter and the president. That being said, the bravery of the line agents is quite different from the decisions of Secret Service leadership. Secret Service leadership committed catastrophic security failures. Indeed, the worst security failures for the Secret Service since 1981, since the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. It is incumbent upon this committee to determine why those security failures happened. Just after the shooting, Secret Service put out an official statement from your spokesperson that says there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. Was this tweet accurate?
With respect to Butler, Pennsylvania, it is accurate, sir.
It is accurate that the Trump team had not asked for additional security and had not been rebuffed.
If you're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, all assets requested were approved. If you're talking about the media reporting of assets requested, there were times when assets were unavailable and not able to be filled, and those gaps were staffed with state and local law enforcement tactical assets.
So I'm reading from the Washington Post, July 20th, 2024. Secret Service said to have denied requests for more security at Trump events. The opening paragraph. Top officials of the U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel sought by Donald Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to his attempted assassination, according to 4 people familiar with the requests. Is that right, that repeatedly the Trump detail asked for more resources and repeatedly Secret Service leadership turned that down?
That is not accurate, Senator. Assets are requested. There's a process that is made. And
how many requests did the Trump team or the Trump detail ask for?
I can get you that number in a queue.
You don't know now.
So I can speak to the ones that reported in the Washington Post, and we can go through them if you like.
But you don't know how many requests there were.
In general, how many requests since 2021 that the former Trump detail has made a request for assets?
You've had 2 weeks. You had a spokesperson put something out that is false on its face. By the way, did you approve this statement when it went out?
I don't know if I did or didn't, Senator.
Has this spokesperson, is he still employed? Does he still have a job?
He is still employed, Senator.
So he lied on behalf of the Secret Service. He still has a job. Did your predecessor, the former director, does she approve this statement?
Senator, our comms team, they send out statements. They do deconflict them and they put them out.
Everyone hates Ted Cruz.
This statement.
I don't know if she did or did not. Senator.
And you don't know if you did either.
Zach, thank you for being a freaking follower. I just want to point out to NYC that even Republicans hate Ted Cruz. The famous Al Franken quote, back when Al Franken was a senator, that he liked Ted Cruz more than most people like Ted Cruz, and he hated Ted Cruz.
Will you commit to provide this committee in writing every written request for additional resources from the Trump campaign or the Trump detail and every response from Secret Service?
Senator, I will commit to providing responses and getting you the information that you are seeking.
Let me ask you something. And who makes the decision to deny those requests? Did you make that decision?
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the
Any of
Washington
them.
Post?
Yes.
So the process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, that is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between our
Okay, so there's a bureaucracy.
Most conservatives hate Ted Cruz.
Give me the person that's the decision maker. Is there one?
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an absolute yay or nay.
So let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision.
Your logic makes no sense.
And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics. Did the same person who denied the request for additional security to President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle was murdered by an assassin? Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not answering my question. But you know what? Leadership appointed by the president, leadership appointed by the president is political. I have a simple question, yes or no. Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, there is a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Does the buck stop anywhere? Does the buck stop anywhere?
Bipartisan process that the Hill
It's a bicameral, bipartisan process. What camera?
For a candidate,
you are not a Congress. You don't have a camera.
Mr. Kennedy
So I was getting ready to say
that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're.
But Ted Cruz is purposely trying to frustrate him as well. It's like, what does bicameral have to do with this? Like, this has nothing to do with Congress. You're in the Senate.
But you know what? Leadership appointed by the president. Leadership appointed by the president is political. I have a simple question: yes or no? Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, there's a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Does the buck stop anywhere? Does the buck stop anywhere?
Bipartisan process that the Hill
participates. It's a bicameral, bipartisan process. What camera?
For a candidate,
you are not a Congress. You don't have a camera.
Mr. Kennedy submitted a request that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing to answer the question. Let me ask, because the failures on that day were catastrophic. By the way, is it true that on the day of the Butler event that Secret Service transferred agent from President Trump to the First Lady?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's been widely reported.
It's not true.
That sounds like some right-wing bullshit.
On the manpower request for the Trump detail, they handled the arrival at the airport.
What was the
and
relative size of the Trump detail compared to the detail that is assigned to the President or the First Lady?
Senator, the former president travels with a full shift, just like the president.
What's so the exact same size? Is that your testimony that President Trump had the same size detail that President Biden has?
On the day of in Butler, the agents surrounding him, it is the same number of agents surrounding the president today. There is a difference between a sitting president who also not only
Hold on, you're using president in a way that is not clear. Is it your testimony that in Butler, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had the same number of agents protecting him that Joe Biden has at a comparable event?
I'm telling you the shift, the close protection shift surrounding.
That's a yes
what
or
you
no.
asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference?
The difference?
2x, 3x, 5x,
National
10x?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike, sir.
I'm not
there are other
asking
assets
how many more
travel
agents?
with the president that
Sir,
the former president will
you are
not get.
refusing to
but
answer
the number
straight.
of Secret Service
Sir,
agents protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You
Senator.
are refusing to answer.
You're interrupting him. I understand what he's trying to say. He says the immediate detail around the two of them are the same. but that Biden, as the sitting president, has other assets like the nuclear codes that require other agents focused on that.
Answer clear and direct questions.
I like that. Like one has the power to order a nuclear strike.
Surrounding.
That's a yes
what
or
you
no.
asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference?
The difference?
2x, 3x, 5x,
National
10x?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike, sir.
I'm not
there are other
asking
assets
how many more
travel
agents
with the president that
Sir,
the former president
sir,
will
you are
not get.
refusing to
but
answer
the number
straight.
of Secret Service
Sir,
agents protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You
Senator.
are refusing to answer clear and direct questions. I am asking
No, he's not.
the difference in the number of agents between those assigned to Donald Trump and those assigned to Joe Biden. I'm not asking why you assign more to Joe Biden. I'm asking, is the difference, is it 2x? Is it 3x? Is it 5x?
Question
Is it
marks.
10x?
Senator, I will get you that number so you can see it with your own eyes.
Senator Marshall, you're recognized for your questions.
That was all for show because Ted Cruz knows exactly, just like I knew exactly what he was talking about. Ted Cruz isn't a dumb man, but the people that like Ted Cruz, like our good friend in the chat here, they are very fucking dumb. Ted Cruz not the only one getting him a piece, though, today during the hearings. Here is Senator Hawley.
Chairman, Director Rowe, can you put your first poster, your first demonstrative back up?
Please put A up, please.
Let's make sure everybody can see it. This is the photograph, I believe, that you took, your team took of the roof, the AGR roof, the one. Okay, so from this vantage point, as the law enforcement who are in those windows, as they look left, they should be able to see the shooter clearly there on the AGR second floor roof. My question is, why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper on that roof?
So, Senator, when we post up, our methodology is to look at things that can see in on our protectees so that they can provide that coverage.
But why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper there with clear line of sight? That roof has a clear line of sight to the former president. Why didn't you put a Secret Service counter sniper there?
The Secret Service's counter sniper role is to neutralize those threats that are looking in on us from where the protectee is, not necessarily
You think maybe you might want to revise that protocol in light of what happened here?
They were protecting the principal. And
the principal got shot.
I understand that, sir.
So do you think you might want to revise the protocol? Let me ask you this. Who was the lead site agent who made the decision to leave the AGR building completely outside of the security perimeter? Who was that?
Senator, I cannot give you that name. This person is operational. They're still doing investigations. They're still doing protective visits.
Have they been relieved of duty?
Senator, they have not been
their
relieved
name,
of
by
duty.
the way. Why have they not been relieved of duty?
They are still cooperating, not only being interviewed by the FBI, but also by our Office of Professional Responsibility. And we will let the facts of the mission assurance and any further investigations play out.
Isn't the fact that a former president was shot, that a good American is dead, that other Americans were critically wounded, isn't that enough mission failure for you to say that the person who decided that building should not be in the security perimeter probably ought to be stepped down?
I kind of agree with Hawley on that one.
And I think we need to allow the investigation play out to include.
Who did make the decision then? If it wasn't the lead site agent, who made the decision not to put that in the security perimeter?
Senator, you're zeroing in on one particular agent. I want to find out exactly what was the entire decision process. So I think I want to be neutral and make sure that we get to the bottom of it and interview everybody in order to determine if there was more than one person who perhaps exercised bad judgment.
Well, sure. My question is, why don't you relieve everybody of duty who made bad judgment? So, yeah, you're right. I am zeroing in on somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who's accountable here.
And
you're telling me that the person who made the decision not to include this in the perimeter has not been relieved of duty. What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because
It probably should roll.
challenge is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
Jobby.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we
love fucking disgusting language around here. Content warning, fuckers.
investigating this through a mission assurance, and as opposed to zeroing in on one.
What more do you need to
individuals,
investigate to know
exactly what the
more do you
decision-making
need to
process
investigate
was?
to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their
I cannot
jobs.
put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
It's been 2 weeks. You should probably know.
You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the
Is it
Secret
not
Service.
prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
Then
just like you
fire
have.
somebody to
And I will
hold
tell
them
you,
accountable.
Senator, I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people
I can't believe
unfairly
that you
persecuted.
are unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly,
We've got people
sir.
who are
We
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
You said earlier that you've got to make sure that your protocols are followed, and unless there's a protocol violation, people wouldn't be disciplined. I would just say to you, I don't really care that much about your protocols. I think if your protocols don't provide for the fact that when a former president is shot, when an American is killed, when other rally goers, innocent people who just showed up on the day, when they are shot at and critically wounded, if that isn't a protocol violation prima facie, you should revise your protocols.
Senator, I think this is where you and I agree. This was a failure, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Well, I hope you're going to do something about it. Let me ask you something else. The Real Clear Politics reports this morning that you were directly involved in denying additional security resources and personnel, including counter snipers, not just to this event, but over the last 2
I mean, the show's called the Troll Patrol.
President Trump's team repeatedly
I'd like to think it's a safe space.
these additional
patrol.
resources, and you personally were involved in denying them. Is that true?
Senator, as I stated earlier, that is not true.
So you never denied any resources to former President Trump's team?
No, not me. No, sir.
And
not
you
personally.
weren't involved in any of that? You
No,
were never
sir, I
involved
was
in the
not.
decision making?
No, sir, I was not.
Let me ask you just one or two other things here quickly. Well, whistleblowers tell me that, in fact, law enforcement were stationed to be on that roof and that law enforcement abandoned their post because it was too hot. Is that accurate?
Senator,
It was hot that day.
Again, they posted up inside.
Shitty mod. Shitty mod.
We're going to ensure that state and local counter snipers are on roofs.
But do you know if someone was supposed to be on the roof? Do you know if someone was in fact? That's what the whistleblowers tells me. That may or may not be accurate. Do you?
That's
know
a universal thing, so you should just be able to Google it,
local law
Torchy.
enforcement or whomever?
I do not know that to be a fact.
Well, can I ask you why you?
All the best mods.
Again, Senator, we are looking at this, and they should have been on that roof. And the fact that they were in the building is something that I'm still trying to understand.
I just want to express my frustration, Director, that 17 days or whatever it's been, that whistleblowers are telling us more than you are, and you don't know, you haven't ascertained if there was supposed to be law enforcement on the roof. That seems like a pretty basic fact. I'm also told that local law enforcement suppliers offered the Secret Service drones, and you declined them. Is that true?
So, Senator, one, I've been very transparent and forthcoming.
Your agency has not been transparent and forthcoming, so please, let's not go there.
I have been forthcoming, sir.
That remains to be seen. You've been on the job a few days. So far, you've fired nobody. Now, the drones.
Thank you,
Were
sir.
you offered drones?
Senator
So there
Hawley.
was an offer to fly a drone on that day.
And why did you deny it?
Again, I think the ability of local law enforcement to provide an asset, we probably should have taken them up on it if it was offered.
NYC, would you like to talk to me? You're saying a lot of shit to me in the chat. I've got a show to do. So if you want to talk to me, and that's in the rules, you have to hop in the Discord or you have to call the telephone. I'll talk about whatever you want. You can ask me about why I dislike conservatives. But I want to hear from you. I want to hear like what your political beliefs is. Why are you a conservative? What is the policy that most animates you, and why you vote the way you vote? I'm in a really good mood tonight. So I don't think I'd be mean to you and call you a dumb fuck or anything. But I might call you a dumb fuck. Yeah, only been in the job a matter of days. Had to go take that grilling. And for some odd reason, our favorite senator, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, brought up a oldie but a goodie, I guess. Wanted to ask about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page.
Which the FBI agreed to give Peter Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Lisa Page $800,000.
It's my understanding, Senator, that the Department of Justice was involved in that, not the FBI.
The FBI had nothing to do with it?
There may have been consultation with our general counsel's office, but
Does the FBI have to sign off on it?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't believe so, but I would want to confirm that.
I would like
You're still hung up on 2016.
The same Lisa Page who said to Mr. Strzok, quote, Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right. To which Mr. Strzok said, quote, no, he won't. We will stop it. That's the Peter Strzok and Lisa Page I'm talking about. I need to know if the FBI signed off on this lawsuit.
We will get that answer for you, Senator.
And then I need to know who signed off on it. Did you sign off on it?
I absolutely did not and would never sign off on something
Did Chris
like that.
Wray sign off on it, the settlement?
They haven't been in government in years.
You don't know what?
Nor do I think you would have.
You need to let me know who signed off on this, if anyone at the FBI. So it was Merrick Garland who agreed to do this. Is that right?
Senator, I do not know.
Well, hell,
who signed
somebody
off
had
on
to
that.
agree to it. I've settled a lawsuit before. The client's got to agree to it. You're the client.
Understood. I'm gonna direct you.
Flash, thank you for the
Department of Justice
resub.
to answer those
Get
questions.
me that information.
Oh, anonymous gifter. Handing out the subs again tonight. Anonymous gifter, you are fucking awesome. NYC, talk about why the Democrats will lose the presidential election. Is that what you want to talk about? Because I don't think the Democrats are going to lose the presidential election. And you misspelled lose. I mean, you spelled loose. You misspelled lose. And what did he? Yes, for those of you who may just be listening, this is NYC Wise Person 45 in the chat. They have been saying the dumbest shit all fucking night. The comment just now was, okay, then talk about why the Democrats will lose the presidential election, and if you call me a name, then you use toxic and disgusting language that contributes to the terrible language in this country and the terrible things that goes on in this country. You can go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit what a dumb fuck like you thinks. You are a stupid motherfucker. You're the reason why I say right-wingers are fucking morons. I will gladly use toxic and disgusting language and contribute to the terrible language and the terrible things that go on in this country. Motherfucking yes! Terrible things going on in the country. Anonymous gifter. God damn it. I love you. Anonymous. Kamala Harris will channel the ghost of Hugo Chavez to win. I'm the buddy. If a Twitch streamer is the reason why you are the political persuasion you are, then you are a shallow, stupid fuck. Seriously. It's all about feelings with dumbass right-wingers. I hate you people. You people are so fucking stupid. Yes, if Justin is the reason... Hey, hold on, clinically. I'm the reason why you guys tune into Twitch every night at 8 o'clock. Come the fuck on. Parasocial freak. That's the only thing I want to be in your lives. The reason why you tune in to Twitch at 8 p.m. to find out what that news be doing. That's all I desire. Venus, have I told you good evening? Why am I arguing with the bot? That's a very good question. You can call in. Other than that, you're pretty much getting ignored from this point on. Sorry, NYC. You're pretty fucking stupid. What specific facts, mother? Okay, in my lifetime, Republicans, every Republican president has wrecked the economy and sent us to war. Every single one of them. Every Democrat in my lifetime has presided over record GDP growth and low unemployment. Fact, right there, boom. That's a pretty specific fucking fact. Pretty fucking specific fact. I am 40 years old. Reagan was president when I was born. Reagan wrecked the economy. George H.W. wrecked the economy. Bill Clinton presided over a boom period. George W. Bush wrecked the economy. Obama got us out of the recession, and we were booming by the time we get to 2016 in a way no one expected. Trump likes to talk about energy independence, but that was like Obama policy. I don't think Reagan created 21 million jobs at all, so there's that. So let's get back to the news, shall we? If you would like to call in or you'd like to hop in the Discord, you can do that. You have to talk to me. Project 2025's director steps down, but the think tank says the work will go on. The Heritage Foundation announced Tuesday that the top official behind Project 2025, the conservative think tank's far-reaching plan to overhaul the U.S. government, is stepping down, but that the project's... And he's not stepping down. He has been forced out by the Trump campaign, apparently, which has nothing to do with Project 2025. Hell yeah, clinically. Go smoke a joint with your folks. Heritage said Paul Dans was stepping down and Project 2025's policy operations are concluding. Foundation President Kevin Roberts said in a statement that the policy work was always set to conclude after the party conventions anyway, but that their personal work would continue. Our collective efforts to build a personal apparatus for policymakers of all levels, federal, state, and local, will continue. The campaign of Republican former President Donald Trump has tried to disavow the project. Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, who led the campaign, said in a statement that reports of Project 2025's demise would be greatly welcomed and should serve as notice to anyone or any group trying to misrepresent their influence with President Trump and his campaign. It will not end well for you. They don't realize how fucking weird they are. Like NYC, you don't realize you're a weird fucking individual, that you turn normies off. Speaking of weirdos, this Christian nationalist group has been trying to purge voters in battleground states.
.org, War, Peace, and the Presidency. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump made headlines this week after suggesting that this year's election could be the last U.S. election if he wins in November. Trump made the comment Friday in Florida at Turning Point Action's Believers Summit.
Believers Summit.
Out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
For more on who's backing Trump's efforts, we look at a secret organization of wealthy Christians who are working to purge more than 1 million voters from the rolls in battleground states and mobilize Republican voters to back Trump. It's called Ziklag. The news outlets
Ziklag
documented, obtained thousands of Ziklag's internal files, and found the group has divided its 2024 activities into 3 different operations: Steeplechase, which uses churches to get out the vote, and Watchtower, which aims to rally voters around opposition to transgender rights. The third operation, called Checkmate, focused on funding so-called election integrity groups as laid out in this Ziklag member strategy video.
Voter irregularities are rampant.
Could it have a more Nazi-sounding name? Yeah, not a conjurer. Jinx.
Across all 50 states, but especially pronounced in the battleground states. Public polling confirms Americans have lost confidence in electoral integrity. With the federal election already in full swing, more must be done to ensure fair elections in the most important republic in the world. That's the purpose behind Operation Checkmate and its practical approaches to both get out the vote and clean electoral rolls through our coalition partners. Through these efforts, we have the opportunity to play a significant role in the upcoming election.
ProPublica reports Ziklag's mission is to take dominion over 7 spheres of public life, which it calls mountains: business, science and technology, family, arts and media, church, education, and government. For more, we continue with Andy Kroll, investigative reporter for ProPublica. His recent piece inside Ziklag, the secret organization of wealthy Christians trying to sway the country. Andy, lay it out for us.
Ziklag is a secretive network of ultra-wealthy Christians, conservative Christians, who have this 2-part goal, 2-part vision for this country. One is to get heavily involved in the 2024 elections in the ways that you just described, mobilizing pastors, knocking people off the voting rolls, demonizing trans people to motivate conservative voters. But
never go ziplining.
20 and 30-year horizon, Ziklag's goal is nothing less than moving the country toward a state of Christian nationalism, having biblical worldviews, quote-unquote biblical truth, shaping, influencing every part of American culture, those 7 mountains that you described. So this really is, as one expert we quoted in the story told us, a vision for Christian supremacy.
Ziklag mean?
What does it mean?
Ziklag, the name, refers to a biblical reference about David taking refuge during his struggle with King Saul. The analogy here,
thank you, Dougie.
The Christians in this group apparently feel that they are under siege and that this group is their refuge, but then the place from which they plan their campaign, their assault to take back American culture.
In a Ziklag member briefing video that you obtained at ProPublica, one of Ziklag's spiritual advisors, Lance Wallnau, a Christian evangelist and
that dude is nuts,
laid out a plan to deliver swing states by using an anti-transgender message to motivate conservative voters who are exhausted with Trump.
If we can get the left to own their position on LGBTQ, the country's already drifted on the homosexual issue, but on transgenderism, there's a problem, and they know it. They're going to want to talk about Trump. Trump is indicted. The guy's a criminal. This and that. They're going to have riots in the street, all the kabuki theater. Meanwhile, if we talk about, it's not about Trump. It's about the parents and their children, and the state is a threat.
They're coming for your kids.
Newsom or Governor Whitmer or Polis, your top three potential candidates for the future presidency of the United States, other than Kamala. You got these, when they're going to have to stand with their LGBTQ donors.
Right.
And so when they solidify that position, that's where they've gone too far.
So that's Lance Wallnau, a Christian evangelist and influencer.
Dumbass.
Andy Kroll, if you can talk about him, what he's saying, and who the other leaders of this are.
Lance Wallnau is maybe one of the most important Christian evangelist figures that maybe your audience hasn't heard of. He was one of the
I've heard of him.
Christian right leaders to endorse Donald Trump. We're talking way back in 2015 here. He popularized this notion that Donald Trump was a modern-day Cyrus, a sort of flawed but virtuous leader who would deliver victory for Christians. And that Cyrus idea really caught on, was a big reason that evangelicals turned out to such a big degree for Trump in 16, again in 20. Wallnau remains this bridge between the Christian right, Christian nationalism, and Trump world. Wallnau is one of a number of really influential and well-known people that are part of Ziklag. Some members that your audience might have heard of, Green family, they're the family behind Hobby Lobby. Obviously, they've had a pretty big impact in trying to strike down parts of the Obamacare law back in the Obama presidency. The Uline family have donated to this effort. They are, of course, the billionaire office supply family out of the Midwest, major political donors to Republicans and to Donald Trump. And then another family is the Waller family, influential in Ziklag. They are the owners of the Jockey Apparel Company, which probably a lot of people have heard of, even if they haven't heard of this family. So you have a number of really wealthy,
I've never heard of Jockey Apparel,
conservative Christian families in this group. They have the means to invest not just in political work, but also in this larger cultural transformation plan that Ziklag has really, really organized itself around.
I don't know what's...
Andy, talk about more in depth these three programs: Checkmate, Steeplechase, and Watchtower.
Yeah, you see an almost sort of wraparound 360 degree.
No need to apologize, Josephus. Light one up, tip one back.
Election in these three groups. So with Steeplechase, you have mobilizing conservative pastors out in America, out in the field, to mobilize their congregations to get them out to vote. And there's some concern that maybe there's fatigue about Donald Trump in 2024, that maybe conservative Christians won't turn out in the numbers they did in 2016. That's what this program...
Did it hit the ads? I've totally lost control of Twitch.
...is there for getting the church as involved as possible. You have this anti-trans operation, as Lance Wallnau says in that video that you just played. They believe that going after trans people, demonizing transgender Americans, transgender healthcare, can, quote-unquote, deliver swing states. That's what Lance Wallnau himself said. But then this final one, I think, is honestly perhaps the most interesting, this Operation Checkmate, putting...
It's called demagoguery, by the way. To demonize a small minority group in order to whip up fervor among your base. It's called demagoguery.
Money into mobilizing conservative voters in key counties, not just states, but counties. So Maricopa County in Arizona, Fulton County in Georgia, the other battleground counties in the country. And then trying to put money into knocking more than 1 million voters off the voting rolls in these states. And you see this in a couple of ways, but what's so interesting is how the Christian right, Christian nationalism is fusing here with the election integrity, or really the election denial movement that grew out of the 2020 election. We didn't have a lot of evidence of that before this reporting on Ziklag, but you see this bridge again between the Christian right and the election deniers in a really big way going into this election.
And how effective can they be in knocking voters off the rolls?
A little bit of money goes a long way when you are trying to get people knocked off the eligibility list for voters. That's what the experts, the political consultants, the folks that know these worlds told us in the reporting for this story. Ziklag is putting, say, $800,000 or $1 million into something called Eagle AI, an artificial intelligence software that makes it easier to challenge the eligibility of voters en masse. So you're not doing it one by one, you're doing it by the hundreds, by the thousands. You don't need tens of millions of dollars, the experts told us, to be able to make those challenges and to sort of turbocharge the effort to make voters ineligible. You only need a few $100,000, maybe $1 million. That's what this group, Ziklag, appears to be doing. So it could have an effect. And we're talking about margins again in Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, margins that are a few thousand, a few tens of thousands of voters.
And Andy, how does the election officials in every state, especially in the battleground,
I always forget Juan Gonzalez is there.
With these
Amy tells us.
How might that turn out in the coming election?
Well, you have two different camps here. You have the election officials in these states and in these counties who are just trying to run a free and fair election. What we've heard from those officials is that these efforts like Eagle AI or the work of the group True the Vote, another quote-unquote election integrity group, these mass challenges to the voter rolls make an already difficult job, an already stressful job, a time-consuming job, even more difficult. It's putting just more stress on the work of these local election officials, the ones who are trying to do a good job. And then you have the officials who have sort of bought into the election integrity claims, who have bought into Donald Trump's election denial for 2020 or 2022 even. And for them, they are in some places encouraging these mass challenges. And so you might see confusion, you might see chaos, you might see voters unaware that they've been removed from the rolls in these kinds of places. So it's just creating either more stress on good officials, or it's creating more chaos with officials who buy into these baseless claims about election fraud.
NYC. Logic. If you would know this if you had the political science degree that you state that you have. Logic is a set of formal and informal rules for debate. You have not employed any sort of logic. You have committed multiple fallacies, I would assume, throughout the chat. Haven't really been paying attention. Kind of doing a show. Left is best. These Christian nationalists are not only coming for your voting rights, they're coming for what you're watching online, I assure you. They're going to come for your porn. This supposed protect children from online content bill sounds scary as fuck to me. Where are they going with this?
The U.S. Senate today passed the Kids Online Safety Act by a vote of 91-3. If the bill passes the House, it'll mark the first time in 25 years that Congress has passed a bill aimed at better protecting children from...
Stephanie
Sy has our coverage.
In a 2023 survey, 65% of kids in the U.S. reported experiencing
only 3 motherfuckers voted against it,
ranging from misinformation and graphic violence to hate speech. Among other things, the act, dubbed COSA, establishes duty of care. That's a legal term requiring social media companies and other platforms like gaming sites to reasonably mitigate harm. Companies would have to disable addictive content and limit features that extend the time spent on platforms. It allows kids to opt out of personalized algorithm recommendations and limits others from communicating directly with children. But some are concerned the bill violates First Amendment freedoms, could...
Okay, here's the opt. I don't like the opt-out thing. I think it should be an opt-in thing for personal algorithms. We should have a digital Bill of Rights that protects our digital footprint, and we should have to opt into specific algorithms. It shouldn't be foisted upon us. Now, that's not profitable for the big corporations, but, you know, I kind of don't care. Fuck.
It allows kids to opt out of personalized algorithm recommendations and limits others from communicating directly with children. But some are concerned the bill violates First Amendment freedoms, could lead to censorship, and could prevent marginalized individuals from getting important information. For a closer look, I'm joined by Ava Smithing of the Young People's Alliance.
It should be a public
COSA's
service.
Passing. Ava, thanks so much for being on the News Hour. You know, there are a wide range of threats to kids we've covered on
It should
this
be an
program,
opt-in thing.
Extortion.
We should automatically be opted
How
out.
much can we expect this bill to do to actually protect kids online?
Well, there's a couple of reasons I think this bill will be incredibly effective at protecting kids online. The first is one you mentioned with the duty of care that would place the onus on the tech companies to design and implement features which are healthy for these kids. The second thing is a risk assessment and audit. We all have our taxes audited annually, and in every other industry, before we put a product out, we make sure that that product is safe for the consumption by minors and for minors. And that is another thing that this act will set up, is to ensure there's a third party audit and risk assessment on social media companies so that they're designed and implemented in a safer way.
What kind of accountability for tech companies does this bill include? For example, does it hold a social media company legally liable for content that reaches kids?
No, social media companies are not held legally liable for content that reaches children. This is a protection gifted to them, or gifted. This is a protection that they received under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And this bill says that internet service providers, such as social media companies, can't be held liable for content on their platforms. So this bill does not interfere or impact the way that content is looked at on social media platforms, but rather the design of the features, and is making sure that the FTC can put forward guidelines on how to safely and properly
No, I think she pulls off the bangs.
Platforms. So think about things like the endless scroll. That's a design feature which encourages addiction-like behavior, which is something that they would be held accountable for.
As you know, there are some concerns about this bill from some...
Now we're criticizing her appearance instead of watching the news report.
Trans Ohio told us.
Well, what concerns me most about the COSA bill, and bills generally seeking to limit the scope of what is accessible on the internet, is who decides what should be accessible and how it's accessible. Being the head of a trans organization in a state where we've actively had legislatures tell us to our faces that they would like to see our website and the services that we provide
to play with his
youth and adults across the state restricted. It's not a leap and a bound, and it's anything but hyperbole to see how a bill like COSA could lead to our website and other websites being limited in their access in the internet.
Ava, what do you think of about that? Do you see how this law could be weaponized against certain communities, in particular the trans community?
When I initially moved to DC and started advocating on behalf of social media reform, me and my organization did not endorse the Kids Online Safety Act because we had very, very similar harms or fears about what the bill could do, as this organization does. But in February, a new version of the bill came out that not only limited the state attorneys general ability to enforce the duty of care, so it is a federal thing and different states cannot do as they please with the bill, but also added the word design feature into the duty of care, which says companies need to exercise reasonable care through the implementation of design features. So further proving that the bill is not in fact about content, but rather about the design of these platforms.
There is also, though, some concern about the data collection and age verification requirements of the bill. I want to play for you what the Electronic Frontier Foundation has had to say.
Platforms are going to have to start collecting a lot more information on all of their users to determine which of their users are entitled to this special protection or legally required to have this special protection. And so one of the things that we've seen in our privacy work is that anytime platforms collect that type of information, personally identifiable information at scale, and have to hold on to it for legal reasons, that becomes a target for theft, for identity theft.
Do you agree with that, Ava? Does the law leave data and privacy vulnerable at all?
There's a couple of things to address there. The first is that the knowledge standard for age verification isn't changed in COSA to anything that did not exist in laws which came before it. The second thing is, as it relates to the data that these companies already collect. All of these companies already know how old you are, what you do, who you are, where you go, who you follow, everything about you, and they utilize that to target you with advertisements. This is no more data than what they collect in their reasonable course of business. And COPPA, which is now existent in the Kids Online Safety and Privacy Act, the two were combined together for floor passage, actually addresses those privacy concerns by limiting the amount of data that companies are allowed to collect on young people in the first place.
Ava, you were on social media as a teenager, and I understand it negatively affected you. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you think having a law like this in place would have changed your online experience and maybe even your childhood?
Yes, it would have certainly changed my childhood. When I was a young person, about 11 or 12, I first downloaded Instagram and was brought from bikini advertisements to diet culture posts to then eating disorder posts, because the algorithms understood that what I engaged with most is what I would look at and therefore what they could make money from me on. So if a law like this had been in place, I would have only interacted with the content that I deliberately searched for and that I wanted to be seeing online, as opposed to the content that they knew would keep me hooked at the cost of my well-being. So I'm incredibly excited.
We should all have that freedom. We should all have that freedom. All of us, not just kids. Yes, it's good to implement that for kids. All of us should have that freedom. Holy fuck. This is a hill that I will die on. I have no idea how the commercial break worked. It looked like it hit automatically, but I don't think it did. I'm going to go ahead and hit the commercials again. And because I think when we come back, we're doing crime stories. Yeah, we're doing crime stories. And we got some cop killings, we got some shootings. It's gonna get a little graphic. So you want to skip out on the crime stories, give us about 30 minutes. Come back for the bullshit at the end. We got all kinds of fucking crazy shit going on, of course. Let's take a 3-minute commercial break. I'll get high with everybody. We'll see you on the other side. That box truck chase, I have another fucking chase that involves some sort of truck. I've got a whole playlist now of just chases, because YouTube has been recommending them to me. So I was just like, oh, I'll put these back so we can watch a chase whenever. So, like, yes, I remember when search engines actually showed you what you were searching for. Mr. Tire was getting I hated that we didn't see the end of it. But we did get to see the arrest afterwards. There was a chase that took place in LA yesterday. We're going to see the results of it. Let me go refill my tea. Got you a smoky butt. I love that cat. He's so, like, okay, Maynard is soft. Maynard's like one of those, like, you know, the... You know, the, like, pillows, blankets that have, like, the like, spray on them and they're really soft? That's what Maynard feels like. Smokey's, like, sleek. Like almost like a silk feeling. They're both so fun to pet. Socks just feels like a normal cat. He's soft on his belly. His white fur, like his black fur is kind of coarse, but his white fur, like his tufts of white fur on his belly, are really soft. He's fun. Like he likes to cuddle around my arm. And it's really nice. Welcome back, everyone, from commercial break. I was just describing the fur of each of my cats. Socks is fun to cuddle, like, in the bed of a morning. Because he's fat and he purrs really loud. And he'll just, like, curl all around you. Smokey like sleeps next to my head. Socks is like, and Smokey's like right here. Smokey is usually my afternoon nap cat. If I take an afternoon nap, Smokey will be my little spoon. The only thing I don't like about sleeping with Smokey is that he usually puts his ass in my face. He'll little spoon me, but his head will be at my hip and his ass in my face. So the way I get around that is like I'll just put my arm in between his legs and stick my hand like, you know, up like towards like his tuft right here of hair on his chest. So then like my armpit gets the ass away from, you know, it ever like touching my face or anything. It's my protective barrier. See, they only have certain places, right? Didn't we like once upon a time we had a cat ass command? I don't even remember what it did. All right, anyway, news. Let's go to New York City, where Mayor Eric Adams, I'm a cat ass man. I don't like cat ass. If you are a cat owner, cat ass is a hazard you have to deal with. For some reason, they like put their buttholes like right up in your face. Mine are all asleep. Like I guess I woke Smokey up. He was asleep on the top of the couch. Socks is here on the arm of the couch, and then Maynard's over here. There's like you might call it a cuck chair. There's like a second. There's like a second chair in my living room here, but it doesn't have arms on it. When I broke this chair, Curiouser brought it to me, but I don't really use it. First day cat owner? Oh my God! Staffy, you need to show us some pictures in the Discord. Is it a kitten or is it an adult cat? What age are we talking about? How did you come about the cat? What, like, did the cat choose you, or did you get him at a rescue? 2 is the perfect age. All ages for cats are the perfect ages. I'm sad mine are all getting to be elderly. And that's, you know, that's I'm having my own like midlife crisis over time and age and everything. Right, Savvy, so like just take it easy. That's the best advice I can give you. Let the kitty wander and let it do its thing. Is it hiding somewhere, or is it, you know, like around and sniffing shit out? Look at me, all Justin Galaxy over here. Fuck yeah! All right, then you've got no problems. Oh shit, you know what? I've got problems. You know what problem I've got? I don't have any more pot in my jar grinded up. Let's go to the baggie. Boy howdy, does Socks does not like me when I do not keep the litter box clean. He pisses on my sandals. I've had to start keeping and we're talking like if I go anything over 24 hours. A minute over, he's over here pissing on my sandals. You need to go clean these litter boxes, bitch. Like you have multiple litter boxes. Yeah, I've got 2. I used to have 3. I don't have the patio anymore. I have 2 cupboard ones. I think I still have the 3rd. I don't have a place for it. This place is a lot smaller than my other apartment. But I used to have a screened-in back patio. And I had the 3rd litter box out there. It was pretty much only Smokey out there using it. But God, did he love to use it. I feel bad for Smokey because he loved going out on the patio. He doesn't have the ability to go out. He loved it. It's like I probably wouldn't have liked that apartment if it had been in any other location, and it was a very big complex. But I was in the main back corner, and my backyard was a national forest. So, like, there's a screened-in back patio. I would sleep on my back patio because nobody fucked with me. There was, like, nothing going on. There's, like, right behind my apartment was the end of the dog walking trail, but it was down a hill from me. Like, if I could see people out the window walking their dog, but they were still quite a ways from me. But the cats loved it because, like, there were trees and shit. And there'd be all kinds of, like, birds and possums and foxes. Deer would come by. They fucking loved that shit. But, like, I'd go out and Smokey would be, like... If you played Super Mario World... Yeah, Super Mario World, the Super Nintendo one. You know how they have like the turtles that are crawling in the like the castles. They got the Goombas or whatever the fuck. Koopas, that's what they were. They're on the little fence shit, and you can like flip back and forth on the fence. Like, that's what Smokey looked like to me. He was like clawing up the fucking fence. I constantly had to go grab him off of the fucking fence. All right, once again, we're doing now that I've packed my bong again. I had to grind some weed. Once again, we're gonna be doing crime stories. Sure, we're gonna have some fun ones, but also there's gonna be some graphic violence and shit, because you know that's just how it is. I got a couple that are really gonna piss you off. Let's start with this one, where Mayor Eric Adams has blocked a ban that was set to go into effect on solitary confinement.
That bans solitary confinement in jails. He issued an executive order over the weekend, and that's one day before that law was set to go into effect. The move is getting some harsh criticism. News 4's Andrew Siff has more.
Advocates of Local Law 42, which bans prolonged isolation of inmates, better known as solitary confinement, furious at the mayor.
You are not a dictator. You are the mayor of New York City.
Over the weekend, the mayor suddenly paused the law.
I am not going to put civilians, correction officers, and inmates in harm's way.
Mayor Adams insists he's following advice of the federal monitor overseeing.
Is it wrong of me to ask what's wrong with her? And he is just horrible.
Mayor Adams insists he's following advice of the federal monitor overseeing Rikers. The feds stepped in after a rash of inmate deaths and also attacks on officers. Like this one, corrections showed to the city council 2 years ago, the day they passed the law. Also speaking...
Oh, he totally deserved that. That was fun to watch.
Corrections showed to the city council 2 years ago, the day they passed the law. Also speaking on the steps of City Hall today, some who were formerly incarcerated.
This is about those that are in solitary confinement right now that are suffering.
But the mayor today also insisted
we don't have solitary confinement in New York State.
She looks like she would be a character Rachel Dratch would play on Saturday Night Live.
Solitary confinement in New York State. It doesn't exist. I don't support it. I think it's inhumane.
That prompted disbelief from the city's public advocate.
The mayor continues to simply lie. This is not the
DJ Dub.
I love Jamani. I think he's a leader based on his philosophies and principles, and I think that he's doing his job. I got my job.
I think Stephanic's kind of cute, so why do you guys say that?
By the city council and the public advocate to challenge the mayor's ability to declare an emergency and not implement the law. Reporting from City Hall, Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
This is Barney 5 looking motherfucker over here. Wasn't the reporter on The Simpsons Morty? No, that was the millionaire Morty Ziff, played by John Lovitz. What was the reporter's name? I think I'm fucking a couple of characters up. All right, this one's gonna piss you off. The next couple of stories really gonna piss you off. The sheriff in Illinois that hired the deputy and oversaw the deputy that murdered Sonia Massey says he offers up no excuses.
The police union says it will not fight the firing of a downstate sheriff's deputy who was charged with fatally shooting Sonia Massey. The 36-year-old woman was shot and killed in her kitchen after calling police for help.
A local rally is being held tonight in her honor. Reverend Al Sharpton and civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump are among the listed speakers.
Dave Rogers is live with more on the story. Nate?
Yeah, that's right, Sylvia and Terrence. Good evening to the both of you. As you just mentioned, civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton will host a press conference any moment right here at the New Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church on the city's west side. In addition to that, we know that there will be some Chicago activists and community leaders present as well. We also know, as you just mentioned, that attorney Ben Crump is scheduled to appear along with Mr. James Wilburn, who's the father, of Sonia Massey, as well as other Massey family members. It's a story that continues to send shockwaves around the country. The unarmed 36-year-old black woman shot and killed inside of her own home by Deputy Sean Grayson of the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office in Springfield earlier this month. The latest details revealed in this case include Grayson having worked at half a dozen law enforcement agencies in 4 years. Also, the 30-year-old being charged with 2 DUIs before he was discharged from the Army. We just heard from Ira Ackery here on this. Listen in.
We unite in solidarity with not only justice for Sonia, but we're here to support this family. Her kids' lives have changed permanently. They will never be the same. They will never be the same. The father doesn't have a daughter. We're going to stand for them. We'll probably raise some money. We hope to do that. And then in addition to that, we're going to also call for wholesale police reform all across this nation. We're so very happy to have a person like Reverend Al Sharpton who can help us get this message across the length and breadth of this country.
As many may be aware, Grayson was fired after being indicted on multiple charges, including murder, about 2 weeks after this incident. Now, back out here live, we are expecting hundreds, we're told, to attend today's rally and press conference, again led by the Reverend Al Sharpton and attorney Ben Crump. Of course, we'll continue to keep you updated on this on air.
They didn't go into the fact that the sheriff showed up. The Illinois sheriff whose deputy shot Sonia Massey apologized to the community during a gathering on Monday night, saying, "I offer up no excuses." Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell faced a hostile crowd of more than 500 people at Union Baptist Church in a meeting facilitated by the Community Relations Service of the Justice Department. "I stand here today before you with my arms wide open, and I ask for your forgiveness," an emotional Campbell said. "I ask Ms. Massey and her family for forgiveness. I offer up no excuses. What I do is offer or attempt to do better, to be better." Former Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson is charged with first-degree murder. Massey's family has repeatedly called for the resignation of Campbell, who was elected in 2018 and ran unopposed in 2022. The sentiment was echoed by many attending the meeting.
Good afternoon. We're here today to stand with the Massey family.
This is the rally as a whole. "I will not abandon the sheriff's office at this most critical moment," Campbell said. "That would solve nothing." Grayson was vetted and approved by hiring by Sangamon County in May of 2023, despite 2 drunk driving convictions, the first of which got him ejected from the Army for serious misconduct. Although a lawyer for the family said last week that the Justice Department had opened an investigation into the incident, the spokesman reiterated Tuesday that the agency is assessing the matter and following the criminal case. Content warning for this next story, where a lady called police for help, and the police showed up and killed her. Does that sound familiar to you? That's what happened to Sonia Massey in Illinois. That is what happened in New Jersey, apparently, as well. Because cops get called for help and just show up and kill people.
In New Jersey, an investigation just beginning after police killed a woman during a reported mental health crisis. News 4's Adam Harding is live in Fort Lee with more on what police are saying about the deadly shooting. Adam?
It happened in the apartment building high-rise right behind us here. Tonight, neighbors say they have a number of questions. The Attorney General says police in Fort Lee were called to the Pinnacle high-rise apartment building on Main Street around 1 Sunday morning. A family member calling 911 telling investigators his sister was holding a knife and having a mental health crisis. When an officer arrived, authorities say those inside told them not to come in. Police kept knocking and eventually breached the door. Moments later, they say the woman approached them. It was at that point an officer fired a single shot, striking her in the chest. She was rushed to the hospital but did not survive.
Why do you not shoot her in the knee or shoot her in the hand or take...
Why do you shoot her?
Shoot and kill somebody. You know, that's taking a life. That's a little extreme.
Neighbors say it happened on this...
She's got a fucking knife. She's a woman with a knife. You're big burly man, dude, cop. Take the knife from her. Am I wrong here? Subdue her. Take the knife from her. Doesn't that make far more sense? It's more work. I would think shooting somebody is way more paperwork. I'd want to put in the physical work as opposed to the paperwork. I would think shooting her is more paperwork.
The floor. The victim's name has not yet been released.
I think I heard something in around midnight, but I wasn't sure. Very safe area around here, and my building has no... it's first time I heard about this situation.
The Attorney General's office now investigating. Their update does not say if the woman was still holding the knife when police walked in.
Oh, God, it's a bit scary. My wife says, hey, look, we got to move out, and, granted, it can happen anywhere, but this is a tough world we live in, and, it could happen where you live, but the fact that it happened...
No, it happens in America. This is the only place it happens.
Concerning, to say the least.
This is the only place that it happens with this frequency. The cops in other countries don't kill their citizens. I assure, maybe in some destabilized country that has a junta or a military that is in charge of their government, they just kill their citizens in the street. That don't happen in like civilized countries, industrialized countries. It can happen anywhere in this country.
Investigators tonight say they did recover a knife from the scene. A 2019 law requires the Attorney General's office to investigate anyone's death that happens during an encounter with law enforcement. It also requires them to present their investigation to a grand jury. Again tonight, the woman's name has not yet been released.
She just needed a titty slap.
Titty slap! Come on now.
You didn't have to shoot her. And hopefully this is another situation where people get out in the streets and start protesting over the absolute abuse of power of cops. This is another one that's going to be hard to watch. This happened... also in Illinois. Apparently, a cop fatally shot a man and a 4-year-old, but will not be charged for it.
No charges will be filed in an officer-involved shooting in western Illinois that left a 4-year-old dead. In mid-March, police in Macomb responded to a domestic dispute. Body camera video of the shooting was just released this week, and we have to warn you, it is disturbing and violent. The video shows officers arriving and seeing blood in a common area. You can hear screams coming from that apartment. After entering, officers found a 36-year-old woman with several stab wounds. A man, later identified as Anthony George, came from a room holding a knife to the throat of the woman's 4-year-old son. Macomb officer fired one shot, killing the 57-year-old man and the child. The McDonough County State's attorney says no charges will be filed against the...
Why would you do that? Why would you shoot? They're llama. They are trained to shoot for the chest. They usually don't do one shot. They're trained to empty their clip into the chest. Fuck. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's finish.
One shot, killing the 57-year-old man and the child. The McDonough County State's Attorney says no charges will be filed against the officers involved, citing an Illinois State Police investigation and a review of the case by a special prosecutor.
He killed a kid. Like, that seems like that is a violation of their protocol, because isn't that a hostage situation? Isn't the protocol to negotiate to try to get them to give the kid up? Fucking fuck. So, apparently a wild scene unfolding earlier today in Illinois. A sheriff's deputy was fatally shot.
Today, a scene that we have witnessed all too often. This solemn procession for a Cook County Sheriff's deputy shot and killed during attempted robbery in Woodlawn this morning.
That deputy, an Inglewood native and a dedicated 4-year veteran of the department, was off duty at the time. Terrence Lee on the live desk with the latest on the investigation.
Dawn has got tonight. CPD confirms a person of interest is in custody, but no charges have been filed yet. And while police are out there trying to find the suspect, Deputy Raphael Wardlaw's family is grieving the loss of a man they describe as a people person and a hard worker. Chicago police say Wardlaw was at a Clark gas station at 67th and Eberhard just before.
We got another good cop, guys.
Gunmen tried to rob him and the person he was with. They exchanged gunfire and the suspect ran off. Now, it's not clear how many times Wardlaw was shot. The police say he managed to get in his car to go get help, but he didn't get far before crashing into a pole on Indiana Avenue. He later died at University of Chicago Medical Center. His family and the Cook County Sheriff saying he died as he lived, a hero.
Love to make everybody laugh, very fun to be around, life of the party, like very much a protector. He always gonna make sure everybody is okay.
This was just a kind, decent person who's whole life was helping other people, helping his community.
He's a cop.
He did, everything right, and in the end, was trying to help protect people.
Wardlaw would have turned 32 on August 10th. His family says he booked a venue for a big party, and they were very excited to celebrate with him. But sadly tonight,
that sucks.
His loved ones are urging anyone with information to give police a call. Dawn.
Already booked a big venue for his birthday party. Police organization is defending a cop that was caught on video punching a man that had already been detained. 'Cause that's a thing.
An excessive force investigation is heating up after an LAPD officer punches a handcuffed man in the face in Watts. KTLA 5's Kimberly Chang joining us live from downtown LA with a reaction from law officials and the family. Hi, Kimberly.
Hey, Kimberly.
Lou, hi, and LA's police chief now addressing the incident, saying this morning that he has called for the investigation to be fast-tracked.
It didn't really give a lot of accountability.
Earlier today, civil rights advocates and attorneys called for criminal charges against the unnamed police officer who was captured on camera punching a man. Police said he was resisting arrest, but the man's family says the video speaks for itself.
What did I do though?
Pretty sure
This
it
is a
passed.
portion of cell phone video that has gone viral. It shows an LAPD officer punching a man in the face as they're trying to take him into custody. This happened July 28th near East 113th Street and Graham Avenue in Watts. In the video, it appears the man is handcuffed on one side and the officers are trying to put the other side on. The man can be heard shouting when suddenly the officer punches him on the side of his face. Civil rights
Oh, past the House,
attorneys
not
for
the
Alex
Senate.
Mitchell say Mitchell was not resisting, had his hands behind his back, and was restrained. They say this is another case of excessive use of force. Mitchell's mother spoke at a news conference Monday morning.
Something has to be done. It has to stop. It has to stop. To see my only child handcuffed, punched in the face while he was complying. I have a problem with that.
You should.
A time bomb ticking.
This officer clearly has anger management issues.
Absolutely.
He does not deserve to remain on the force.
Nope.
We're calling on the district attorney's office to investigate.
He don't gotta suck him now.
Uniformed officers from Southeast Patrol Division observed a vehicle double parked facing the wrong direction and conducted a traffic stop.
LAPD Interim Chief Dominic Choi addressed the incident at a police commission meeting.
The subject was arrested for 148 PC and transported to the hospital, treated for pain to his jaw and later booked. The involved officer in this incident has been removed from field duties while the investigation into the incident is conducted. I've asked the investigation of use of force to be fast-tracked.
And the LA Police Protective League, which represents police officers, just issued a statement saying in part that the snippet of video lacks context, pointing out that only one was handcuffed and said that creates a potentially dangerous situation for officers, and also said protocol allows strikes or kicks to be used when it is reasonable to overcome resistance to arrest. But those who support Mitchell say it's clear that he was not resisting. Reporting live in downtown, Kimberly Chang, KTLA 5 News.
You guys, the kid upstairs. I guess it's getting to be 2.5, 3, something like that now. Oh boy. A lot of running. I don't really hear it a lot except when I'm doing the it's not that big of a deal because I usually have shit on. I usually there's music or fucking a podcast or something, so I tune it out. It's not a big deal for me, but like I hear it when I'm on the show, cause like I guess it's quiet in here, right? Cause I got the headphones on. Oh, he's crying right now. I hear him crying. Oh, poor he must have been running a lot, then took a tumble. Let's go to Utah, where I think we have video of a hit and run. I think we might have watched this one. I think we did watch this. This is fucking wild video.
A Utah woman killed in a hit and run is pleading for the driver to come forward.
Police have released new video showing a clearer picture of the truck they believe hit her. This is just one of several deadly crashes over the weekend, continuing into today.
News specialist Debbie Worthen joined us.
Oh, it happened over the weekend.
20-year-old Lindsay Van Orman was hit and killed. And Debbie, this is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It is so sad, Mike and Deanie. And it was just near this gas station where Lindsay was hit on Saturday morning and a driver left her in the road. Now, police hope surveillance from that Maverick will help them determine who was driving that truck.
It's just like a nightmare we can't wake up from.
Sierra and Dylan Van Orman can't believe the balloons and signs are for their sister.
This is the worst thing.
Now gone.
We're putting together her funeral, and that's just been overwhelming.
Police believe the driver of this silver Nissan Titan hit Lindsay while she was helping a hurt cat just before 6
Oh.
at 2300 East near 3100 South. Reports indicate the driver stopped, got out, and then took off. The Van Ormans say Lindsay was pure light.
She just had this really high energy.
She was adorable.
And was always happy, always dancing to music.
They say she was fun.
She would always be having some scheme, some idea to have fun.
And compassionate.
She was just somebody you wanted to be around on your worst days because she just knew how to take care of somebody.
The siblings want...
Now, as for the siblings, they have set up a GoFundMe. They say they have felt overwhelmed by the love and support from the community. As far as police go, they would like to hear from anyone who has information on this case. I'll send it back to you.
All right, that's a tough story.
Yeah, usually I'd say don't narc, but totally narc. If you were in Utah and you know who might be driving this fucking truck,
this silver and Nissan
narc the fuck out of them.
Helping a hurt cat.
Helping a hurt cat.
Saturday morning at 2300.
Shouldn't be hard to find him because it looks like that's a camper. Jesus. That would tore me up. Oh, you want to chase, do you, Perg? Oh, this is not the chase. The aftermath of the chase. I have to go see if I can get the story about what happened. I believe this was earlier today. It might have been yesterday. Police pursuit in South LA. Oh yeah, this is about this time yesterday.
News Center Skycam, we've turned around. We're back over South LA right now. A little low. Are we okay in Oat? I'm talking to the News Center. Okay, Joe, thank you. We're starting a right-hand turn here, so we're on station.
This is all I got for you. I can't find a follow-up. I can't find a, what the fuck happened here. Very odd. The CIA is trying to do a cover-up. Weird that it cuts out right as I say that. Do we have a Fed lurking in the chat? Let's do lurker shout out. Hey, Flu Waters, you are awesome. I am so glad to have you here in the chat. Unless you're a Fed, and then I don't really like you. Daily lurker shout out, Flu Waters. I like this. This is going to be a new segment, I do believe. Dagat. You're awesome too, my friend.
Go ahead.
I try to provide you with good content. You can be a lurker if you want to, Holiday. You can be a lurker. You can be a participant. I'm not trying to, by shouting out the lurkers, I am not trying to shame anybody. I am trying to make it a more welcoming environment. I'm trying to make it a more loving and welcoming community. And tell everyone how much I appreciate them. Anyway, there's a manhunt underway in New York for a gunman who committed a shooting because it's just another day.
Now to the latest on that deadly shooting near the migrant shelter on Randall's Island and the hunt for the gunman responsible. Today, New York's Gabi Acevedo is there with the safety concerns being raised. Gabi, good morning.
Good morning, Darlene, to you, to Michael, and to our viewers. Investigators seem to believe that this shooting is connected to some type of retaliation after a gunpoint robbery that happened on Sunday. Of course, they're still searching for the suspect in this case, who they say rode off in a moped after killing a woman and injuring 2 other people. Detectives say a crowd gathered on Randall's Island near Field 7 yesterday after midnight to watch coverage of the Venezuelan presidential election when shots were fired, killing a 44-year-old woman and injuring a man and another woman. All of the victims are Venezuelan migrants, and at least 2 of them were living inside the migrant shelter near the scene of the shooting. The NYPD has set up posters asking for help to track down the shooter, who, as I said at the top, left the area riding a moped and deployed dozens of officers outside of the migrant shelter using drones to scout the premises, while also confiscating unregistered cars, mopeds, and a stolen motorcycle found on Randall's Island. Speaking to people here, Darlene and Michael, it is evident that there is fear among the migrant community, noting that many asylum seekers have nowhere to go once they cross the southern border and arrive in New York City.
I've been here about almost 6 months, and there's not a day that passes that I don't think about my safety. Mopegs, celebrating, smoking marijuana. I don't have no problem with marijuana, but at a time and place. It's out of control.
Now's the time and place.
As we bring you back live, it is important to note that investigators believe that the shooter did not live at the migrant shelter here on Randall's Island, and that the 3 victims in this case were not connected in any way to the gunpoint robbery that occurred on Sunday. Reporting live from Randall's Island, Gabi Acevedo, Today in New York.
I like that dude. He had a nice beard, too. Let's go to Maryland, where a woman and her mother were attacked in a bizarre and frightening home invasion. That's the way the news agency describes it.
Big story tonight at 5 in Montgomery County. The victims of a violent home invasion are sharing their story with Fox 5.
It happened last night at their home in Bethesda. The victims, a woman and her mother. Fox 5's Bob Barnard in that neighborhood tonight with their story. Bob?
Hey there, Marina and Jim. This happened last night around 8 o'clock here in East Bethesda. Montgomery County police telling us the suspect is a woman. Says she's from Alabama and was out here looking for.
It stutters on us. The suspect is a woman?
40 years old, says she's from Alabama here in East Bethesda. Montgomery County police telling us the suspect is a woman. 40 years old, says she's from Alabama and was out here looking for an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend and broke into a random house.
Oh, she's at Deadpool.
I thought it was I was in a dream, a nightmare, you know?
We met Linda and her daughter Kristen at their home in East Bethesda. It's the day after they were victims of a brutal attack inside their house that started when the doorbell rang.
So I opened the door and she said, does Sean Paul live here? And I said, no, I don't know any Sean Paul. And I...
Wait. Give me the light and pass the draw. That's Sean Paul? Jake that thing, Miss Kenna. John Paul, like the Pope.
Brutal attack inside their house that started when the doorbell rang.
So I opened the door and she said, does Sean Paul live here? And I said, no, I don't know any Sean Paul. And I closed it and I locked it.
Seconds later, Kristen says she could see the door handle shaking.
And then I saw from here, she was trying to get in. And that's when I think I called 911, but then it occurred to me that the back door was unlocked. And that's when I ran to the back.
So too did the woman who was at their front door.
And I was dialing 911. And then I came here and I was like trying to lock it, and she just blew through the doors, and grabbed me and started just hitting me.
Linda was upstairs at the time.
I just ran down here, and she was beating Kristen there. And when she saw him, she grabbed me and pulled me down. You yelled at me, call 911.
She grabbed my hair and pulled me in, and then grabbed my mom's hair. And I saw her just beating my mother.
Linda and eventually Kristen were able to get outside and yelled at a neighbor to also call 911. Montgomery County Police dispatchers got the emergency calls just after 8 p.m.
An open line.
And she drove up from Alabama?
Background, someone saying, get away from me. Then another call from a female saying that a female was beating another.
It was so bizarre and frightening, and
God, thank God my son wasn't here, and thank God she didn't grab like a knife. Like, I thought she was gonna kill me.
Kristen suffered a ruptured eardrum and has bruises on the side of her face.
I've never been hit before. I've never been in a
fight
at all. Like, I've never.
Everybody needs to be punched
Linda
once, I
has
think.
bruises and rug burns from being dragged through the house and across their front lawn. Neighbors held the woman till the police came.
We're in the wrong place.
Zesty! Thank you for recommending the best viewers. I greatly appreciate you. You are awesome.
To the wrong time.
In our house?
The suspect is Latoya Owens, 40 years old, no fixed address. She's being charged with burglary and assault. She was supposed to have a bond hearing this afternoon, but we're hearing from the courthouse that she was so violent this afternoon they couldn't get her into the courtroom. So that hearing has been delayed a week while the judge ordered her to undergo a mental health evaluation. She is being held without bond. I will tell you, Linda has lived in her house here for 50 years. And guys, she says nothing like this has ever happened before.
No crazy woman from Alabama has just came in and started assaulting her. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. What is wrong with me? She was pissed John Paul was there. Give it a line and pass the draw. It is Sean Paul, isn't it? Not Pitbull, right? I can stand Sean Paul, all right. Speaking of, this made a great segue. Speaking of hip hop artists, I am correct. Hell yeah. I feel like I watched a Vice documentary on. It might not just been Sean Paul. It might have been like reggaeton in general, but like it had a whole feature on Sean Paul, and like I enjoyed it. I feel like I watched that not that long ago. Mox, have I ever told you about how Pitbull haunts me? He's been my arch nemesis for probably like 15 years now. Everywhere I would go, Pitbull would be like, I would go to a restaurant, Pitbull would be on the fucking TV, just on repeat. Ask Sparkles. Pitbull followed me around. She's not here right now to vouch for me because she's at Deadpool. But Pitbull. Oh, okay. Pitbull would be in the kitchen cooking. I am not familiar with the works of academics, and I don't think I want to be. But I am on the side of Young Thug. Young Thug got a new judge. Last we left off, clinically, you're fucking shitting me. You smoked a couple of joints with Pitbull back in 04-05 time. That was like his heyday, wasn't it? Or did that come a little later? Did that come like 2006, 2007? Was that like right before he got really big? If you could call it really big, I don't even fucking know. Or had he already paid? Or was his big time like 2001, 2002? And he was coming down from his. When was Shake That Thing? Okay, yeah, Shake That Thing would have been like 2005 or 2006, something like that, wouldn't it have? The awful late aughts. Yeah. I don't think it was in the 2010s. It would have been the late aughts. Hold on, let me look it up. I've got a computer right here in front of me. Song by Sean Paul. It came out in. Tell me. There's no Wikipedia. 2002. It is copyright 2002. Yeah, clinically. I bet that was a lot of fun. Where'd you say it? FSU? And they were a good team, too. Like, you actually had some football to root for. If you said FSU, I think. What the fuck is FAU? Oh, okay. I'll take your word for it. Anyway, speaking of hip-hop artists, Young Thug got himself a new judge because the last judge was acting sus. So we got a lady presiding over the case now. I believe she's still going to deny bond for her boy, though.
That I know that there are some outstanding bond motions. So, Mr. Steele, on behalf of Mr. Williams, has filed a motion for bond reconsideration, but Mr. Steele, you essentially go back and argue anew all of the factors that I don't even know who took up the bond to begin with, but another court has already considered all of those, the Ayala factors. And you don't present changed circumstances. You just essentially say this call was wrong to begin with and you should do it over. And I am not going to reconsider any bond issues that have already been considered and ruled upon by another court absent legitimate changed circumstances. So that motion is denied.
Bond denied for Young Thug, unfortunately. Though they did get a new judge after the other judge conferred with the with a witness behind the back of the defense. Well, I was trying to do this article from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but none of my paywall things is getting me through. New judge aims to pick up the pace in the Young Thug trial. Judge Paige Reese Whitaker denied bond for the defendants. The new judge presiding over Young Thug's gang and racketeering trial says things are going to proceed differently now that she is in charge of the longest trial in Georgia's history. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Paige Reese Whitaker indicated the slow-moving trial would pick up pace under her watch and ordered prosecutors to work ahead to get their list of witnesses and exhibits more organized. So she's trying to lay down the law to both the defense and prosecution. That is one I'm definitely going to keep an eye on because I'm fascinated by it now that I know all the details. All the fucking shit that's gone on around it. There's murders, there's lawyers being locked up. Young Thug is probably guilty of exactly what they're accusing him of, but they're being fucking as shitty as you can be as a state trying to bring these charges against him. So I'm kind of taking Young Thug's side on it. I don't know. I'm just saying, he apparently rapped everything that, like, all the things they're accusing him of, he rapped songs about them, which is kind of badass, but also, like, pretty fucking dumb. So I'm fascinated by this case, and we're gonna keep an eye on it. Let's keep it talking about lawsuits. A former PepsiCo executive is being sued for saying that he didn't invent flaming hot Cheetos while working as a janitor. A former PepsiCo executive sued the company for fraud and defamation after it said he didn't invent flaming hot Cheetos. Richard Montanez said he proposed the idea while working as a janitor and ultimately rose through the company's ranks. But PepsiCo told the LA Times in 2021 that the facts do not support the urban legend. A former executive at PepsiCo has sued the company, claiming he should get credit for being the brains behind flaming hot Cheetos. Richard Montanez has frequently spoken of his rags to riches story, from starting out as a janitor to pitching the idea for flaming hot Cheetos to Pepsi. How do you pitch that idea? Just make them really, really hot. Becoming an executive himself at the drink and snack giant, which formed the basis of his successful career as a motivational speaker. He published a memoir in 2021, and his life story was made into the film Flaming Hot in 2023. But an explosive Los Angeles Times investigation in 2021 claimed to debunk his claims about the origins of the flaming hot flavor. Supported by evidence from PepsiCo, Montanez filed a 6-count lawsuit against his former employer on July 18th, accusing it of fraud and defamation for making the comments to the publication. PepsiCo declined to comment. Okay, here's the thing. If he didn't invent it, then why was he an executive? How did he get to be an executive? Like, they don't just let janitors become executives through hard work. You got to have like $1 million idea like that. Richard Montanez's PepsiCo career began in 1976 when he started working as a janitor at its Frito-Lay factory in Cucamonga, in Rancho Cucamonga. During his time at the company, he experimented with making various flavored snacks at home to potentially pitch to the company, according to the lawsuit. But his big breakthrough came when a machine in the factory broke, and he was able to take home a batch of unflavored Cheetos, which he dusted with chili powder to try to replicate the flavor of elote, Mexican grilled corn with chili powder. In 1991, Montanez set up a meeting with PepsiCo CEO Roger Enrico to present his idea for spicy Cheetos, which he thought would be popular with the Latino community. Enrico liked the idea so much he ordered PepsiCo to start making spicy Cheetos, but PepsiCo attempted to cut Mr. Montanez out of parts of the process. Pepsi, that's why you don't take ideas to a company. By the way, if any of you have an idea for anything, mail it to yourself. Write it up, print it out, put it in writing, put it down, put it in an envelope, seal it, make sure it has a stamp on it, mail it to yourself, has a postmark which tells you what the date is. Then go pitch your idea to people. You work at a company, you got an idea that'll make things better, you do that shit. You can use email, you can have an electronic stamp too. That will work. You get like an old-fashioned judge, they'll be really impressed with some fucking snail mail. Montanez continued to develop other spicy snacks for PepsiCo and ultimately became PepsiCo's vice president of multicultural marketing and sales. Montanez left PepsiCo in 2019 to dedicate his time to motivational speaking, charging between $10,000 and $50,000 per talk. God damn. Montanez's story has been disputed. In 2021, the Los Angeles Times published an investigation that seemed to debunk Montanez's claims. More than a dozen former Frito-Lay employees, as well as the company itself, told the outlet that Montanez wasn't behind the development of Flaming Hot flavor. We do not credit the creation of Flaming Hot Cheetos. Their word doesn't matter. What other evidence do you have? Records didn't show he was involved in any capacity in the product's test market. The facts do not support the urban legend. Instead, Flaming Hot Cheetos were developed by a team of snack food professionals in Frito-Lay's Texas headquarters, designed to compete with products sold in inner-city mini-marts in the Midwest. Bullshit. I think it's telling me I need to hit a commercial break. I think I've lost track, and I'll get high with everybody. So commercial break, and we've got a couple more stories, and of course your animal video on the other side of the break. You were right, Mox. And so on the one hand, I want to be fair in this. On the one hand, the fact that he became an executive kind of leans toward he probably had some kind of idea for them. On the other hand, spicy fucking anything like, oh, let's make it spicy, kind of isn't like a brilliant idea. I bring this up quite often when talking about like jokes as a comedian. I didn't realize how easy it is to stumble onto like the same, especially if you're talking about a topic everybody's talking about or something that's, you know, well known. It's easy for many different comedians to come to the same conclusion. Like The Late Show and Jimmy Fallon got like accused of stealing their jokes from Reddit and shit. But I kind of want to err on the side of like, those are just obvious punchlines that any good comedian would come to. And I always bring up that I didn't realize until I had my own joke that like I'd never heard anybody say it before. But when I started doing open mics, I realize there's a lot of people that have a version of that joke, and it's the Trojan condom joke. I think mine's the best delivery of it. I encourage safe sex, at least for the purpose of this joke. I prefer lifestyle condoms to Trojans, and the reason why is the name Trojans. It implies that you're covered, but they're going to sneak your men in through the gate, and that is the last thing I want. But there's apparently, like, fucking every hack comedian at every fucking open mic has a version of that joke. I found that out doing open mics. I'm agnostic as to whether, like, he did or he didn't. You know, like, I don't know. We may never know. We may never know for certain. Welcome back to everyone who was on commercial break. Welcome in. It, like, some ideas are too obvious. Like, everybody's gonna come to her, or somebody's gonna come to them. Kind of like how, like, the Bach anal was ripped off for the Last Supper. The Festival of Dionysus was ripped off. Bacchanal is such a wild fucking word. Olympic opening ceremony DJ filing legal complaints for online abuse over quote unquote Last Supper, which wasn't the Last Supper. It was the Bacchanal or the Feast of Dionysus. A storm of outrage about the Paris Olympics opening ceremony took a legal turn on Tuesday, with a DJ who performed at the show saying her lawyer is filing complaints over a torrent of threats and other abuse that the LGBTQ plus icon has suffered online in the ceremony's wake. Barbara Butch's lawyer said in a letter posted to the DJ's Instagram that Butch has been threatened with death, torture, and rape, and has also been the target of numerous anti-Semitic, homophobic, sexist, and gross-phobic insults. I absolutely believe it. She doesn't deserve it. But that's what happens when you are in the public spotlight, unfortunately. I don't know that she has a case. When you are exposed to billions of people, there are going to be thousands upon thousands that are just going to hate you for no fucking reason. I don't know what to, like, I don't know who you take legal action. If she has specific threats and shit, then I highly encourage her to, you know, go after whoever she can. But, like, fuck. It's just, like, it sucks. I can't imagine what it's like to be Papa Smurf dude. I bet he's getting all kinds of death threats, too. Although the ceremony's artistic director, Thomas Jolly, has repeatedly said that he wasn't inspired by the Last Supper, critics interpreted part of the show that featured Butch as a mockery of Leonardo da Vinci's painting showing Jesus Christ and his apostles. Here's the thing, is like, doesn't Leonardo da Vinci's painting kind of make a mockery of Jesus Christ? Butch, who calls herself a love activist, wore a silver headdress that looked like a halo as she got a party going during her segment of the show. Drag artists, dancers, and others flanked Butch on both sides. French Catholic bishops and others were among those who said Christians had been hurt and offended. Well, you know what? You know what I say?
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Get fucking offended. I don't even... It apparently wasn't the Last Supper, but even if it was, who gives a fucking shit? Everybody's done the Last Supper. Do you know how I know? Do you know how I fucking know? Everybody's done the fucking Last Supper. Oh fuck, I don't have the full picture. No way, no way. Where's it at? That's from that scene where we're doing the Last Supper thing. But like I don't have the full picture to show you apparently. Everybody's done the Last Supper, including me. I've only got the tight shot of it. But you pull back. It's totally the Last Supper. I'm totally Jesus. Because I made a movie where... Because I was in college. I always wanted to play Jesus in a play or in a movie or a TV show or something. And I kept saying that. And I was like, wait a minute. Why don't I just write a movie where I'm Jesus? So I did. Called Salvation. I love her. She's awesome. Check her out while she's DJing. To be honest with you, like, the Olympics look like fun. Get the death metal opera and the Dionysus all blue, and I looked it up and I couldn't find, like, there are pictures of Dionysus blue. But he's usually just depicted as wearing blue. Like, I found like just like 2 depictions on many pages of Google Images where Dionysus was blue. Cancel me. I had a bit of like the Messiah complex or some shit going on. It was weird up until like fucking Russell Brand like called this tour the Messiah complex. Messiah complex tour or some shit. This cat is really into the Olympics. No, I looked it up. I saw depictions of... Hold on. I'm making it up. Oh yeah, I search a lot of things. It's hard going back through my history. I get the fuck around on the internet. I forgot what I was looking for now. Oh. Dionysus. No, not dialysis. Oh my god. He's usually depicted as wearing blue or purple. I found this vector art of him. Watch me not be able to find it again. That's why I was trying to go through my history. God damn it. Couple with his dick hanging out. Dude hangs schlong. Fuck it, I don't even care. Even if it was the Last Supper, I wouldn't give a shit. Why are they offended? Don't be offended, you big baby. Why are you offended by things like it's just a fucking painting? I guess we'll head over to Echo. I think it's Shasta County tonight. I didn't know if everybody would want to do Echoplex. But I guess if you don't want to do Shasta County, find your way out of there. If you're watching on Twitch or heading over to Echoplex Media, go ahead. Light one up, tip one back. It's alright to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We will see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.